friends agree a lot, but when they don't, then the shit gets hot. Though there's C+ in their gameplay, their commentary gets an A. So boys, girls, black, white, brown, and blue, if you're kind and you're respectful too, then we would like to welcome you to Misadventureland.
Hey, what's up, Justin?
Hey, Bobby.
How's it going?
It goes.
So I know we're supposed to do a games podcast today,
That's the rumor.
but I was thinking maybe we should switch it up and do something different. I don't want to throw something at you last minute that you weren't prepared for.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I know, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry about that. But I think I'm going to switch it up, so I'm going to re-roll the intro here, and we're going to do something a little different. All right, we'll be back in 1 second. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Roger, a Star Wars podcast. We haven't done one of these in a while. It's been a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away that we did one of these. I'm joined, of course, by Justin.
Hi.
And of course, to join us once again is Mark, because he's been here for all of these Star Wars episodes.
Salutations.
And joining us, very special guest and prequel lover, Kelsey. Kelsey, welcome.
Can I just say you guys are brilliant actors, almost Hayden Christensen level, almost.
I'm insulted, but
I've never had such an insult thrown at me before. God damn.
We just started, and I've been hit with the fire.
Yes. Really, I'm just like an angry man staring at a lava planet.
I hate you.
We've all been
There
there.
you go.
I hate you.
What a delivery. How did he not get an Oscar?
We will get
Right.
there, but just a preface, just we're starting mid-scene in mise en scène here. In my opinion, the Jedi are evil is the greatest line in the history of movies.
That's a really good one.
Absolutely.
100%.
Actually, I think it's
Wrap
worse. I
worlds.
think it's from my point of view.
It is
the
from my
Jedi
point of
are
view.
evil,
You're right.
Which is worse
It is worse.
for reasons I can't explain, but it just has a bad mouthfeel.
Well, maybe because they're standing on broken machinery floating down a river of lava, and he says in the most like emotionless voice, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Can we start at the beginning before we get to the end?
Yes, but I want to give a little preview of what's to come on this episode.
Yeah.
Today we are reviewing, if you couldn't have guessed, Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith.
What did I say last night? Revenge of the Clones?
Revenge of the Clones. That's what you said last night.
It was
So we
12:45 in the morning.
we know where Justin's head is at on this one. Star Wars Episode 9, Episode 10, Revenge of the Clones. Just a quick overview, if people don't know. We did episodes 1 and episodes 2. The me, Justin, and Mark did those. Those are up over on the podcast feed. So we went over those two. It's been a while. We did those two pretty close together. It's been a while since we did that one, so I don't really remember all the things we said about those movies. I'm assuming most of them are negative. That's going to be my overall guess.
Fair.
The Phantom Menace was bad, but at least had some redeeming moments.
Yes.
Attack of the Clones is a horrendous movie.
Yes.
That has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I'll hear nothing from this panel to saying otherwise.
It is truly
I
an
think-
irredeemable movie. It truly is.
The thing that's great about it, though, is that it's maintained its level of mediocrity over the years. Like I went back to it
Exactly,
and just like a warm hug when I revisited. I'm like, it is just as bad as I remember,
Yes.
which is
absolutely.
oddly comforting for me for reasons I can't explain.
So why don't we, because she hasn't been on and
Yes.
defends the prequels for the first two episodes, Kelsey,
Thank you.
briefly
Thank you.
describe your history with these movies.
No problem. So something I want to preface is that when Phantom Menace came out, I was 6 years old. Okay, so
yes.
was
I
it
need to
the
go.
best
I
movie
have
I
to
ever
go.
saw in my entire life?
All right, the podcast
Yes,
is
it was.
I was 16
So,
years old.
a point,
Let me. I
point
completely
that I
believe
shared-
that it was the best movie you saw in your life at that
yeah,
point.
best. First of all, Anakin Skywalker, the main character, is the same age as you. Best movie. He rides a spaceship and wins the race. Best. He's cute and blonde. Amazing. So,
Best movie.
so something I want to preface that I explained to Bobby and Justin the other day
Mhm.
is that I didn't know who Darth Vader was. So I
Who?
knew there was a Darth Vader because
I
my
knew
dad
the
is like,
concept of Darth Vader.
yeah, I knew the concept of.
Okay.
So my dad is a huge Star Wars fan. So I've always grown up knowing what Star Wars is. Like I knew of a Luke Skywalker and of a Darth Vader and of a Princess Leia,
Okay.
but I didn't know like who they were. So I want everybody to decide: is my dad a genius or is he evil? Because I watched all 3 movies not knowing what was happening to Anakin.
I mean, that sounds like a genius to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
agree.
didn't tell Jorah anything about it. I let him come to it on his own.
Yeah, worst experience of
Okay,
my
wait.
life.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
Phantom Menace, I was 6 years old, loved Anakin, loved Padme. I was like, yes,
Okay.
here for it. Attack of the Clones, 9 years old, madly in love with Anakin. He's in my emo king. He had the little like braid over here. He's older. He was hot. He was in love with Padme. He didn't care about the Jedi. He was like, I love Padme. And I was like, yes, king. Got married. Still oblivious to Darth Vader's existence. Have no idea who this man is. I was aware of the concept of Jedis, that Anakin marrying Padme, maybe not the best idea, maybe leading him down the wrong path, but I believed in love.
Mhm.
Okay?
That's
Revenge
7
of the
years
Sith.
old.
Champion of love.
That's 7 years old. You were a big
9?
believer in love.
9?
You said 7 for
9?
Attack of the Clones.
No, she said
No,
nine.
she was 9 for Attack of the
For
Clones.
Phantom Menace,
Oh,
9 for
sorry.
Attack of the
I'm
Clones. I
sorry,
wrote
I'm
it down.
sorry. I'm sorry. Oh,
11 for Revenge of the Sith. Entering my emo phase, my prime time. Just heard Fall Out Boy for the first time. Just heard My Chemical
11
Romance.
years old.
Anakin has long hair. Okay?
Mhm.
And here we are. This is the visual. I paint you all. Going into the theater with my father. My dad, full aware what's happening in this movie, knows exactly where it's going. Me, oblivious. I'm like, maybe he'll change. We all love a man who could change.
He changed.
We love a
already.
bad boy.
He did change, for sure.
He did change.
Okay, so just have that visual in your head.
Okay, so we really set the scene for
Set the
Kelsey, 11 years old, sitting down to watch Revenge of the Sith in the movie theater. I was a senior in college when I think a senior. Yeah, 20. I was 21, I guess. So yeah, 21, 22.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was probably a senior. I remember just sitting there watching that first trailer being like, for the love of God, just please let this movie be somewhat cool. Like that's the only thing I was wishing for.
And they delivered.
And they had, we'll get to that. That's what
So
I remember sitting there talking about like that, my friends being like, I just hope it's cool. That's all I could think about at that point.
It was cool for an
I went into
11-year-old,
this
that's
movie-
for
College
sure.
mindset.
Yeah.
I went into this movie with no expectations because I obviously had an upbringing and was aware of culture and knew what was going to happen. And I was like, I don't want to see this, but there was a group going. And so I went and I watched this movie and I came out of the movie being like, well, that was the best of the prequels by like a wide margin.
Mhm.
And I watched it again for the first time I'm not for preparation for this show, but I watched it about 6-7 weeks ago
Mhm.
before I went to Disney to get Jorah caught up on all the Star Wars movies.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mm.
that was the first time I'd seen it in a long time, and my feelings still held up. I'm like, still the best prequel movie.
Mark, you had an interesting story when you saw Attack of the Clones, but do you have any interesting stories about your Revenge of the Sith experiences?
Unfortunately, nothing as exciting as with Revenge of the Clones.
Revenge of the Clones.
But yeah, it basically held up the same when I reviewed it in preparation for this.
Mhm.
Yeah, it feels the best of the 3, but that's not a ringing endorsement from me.
Yeah, that is I guess from the three of us, probably faint praise. I'm interested in when you get into it with Kelsey and all the finer points.
Best movie.
as I've done for the other two, just a quick synopsis of what we're gonna of the film. We begin a few years after Attack of the Clones. The war is still going on. The Chancellor has gained even more wartime powers. He has been kidnapped. Our two friendly Jedi, Anakin and Obi-Wan, have to save him. In that process, Count Dooku dies, and then the hunt for Grievous begins. Most of the movie is concerned with two things: one, hunting down General Grievous, and then this sort of the turn and the reveal to Anakin that Palpatine is in fact the Sith Lord Darth Sidious.
Crazy.
Mind blowing. It's like they didn't show it at the end of Attack of the Clones. And then it's concerned with the fallout from the death of Mace Windu and the coming together of the Galactic Empire, and how that all sort of leads us into a point where we're going to pick up again some 20 years later when A New Hope, the story begins again in New Hope. So yeah, I mean, Mark and Justin, you kind of talked about how you feel like it's the best of the prequels, and I mean, I would, just to kick it off, to start to get a little deeper into it. I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think that when I was going through and making pretty detailed notes in this notebook, I came away being like, okay, like it is there was more to like that I wrote down in my to like section than any of the other movies. And there was less in the this is terrible section of my notes, which was nice because I've been when we've been watching these, I've been trying to look at them with a different eye than just like, I love the original Star Wars movies and these do not live up to them, like that sort of mindset. And in doing that, I did find some stuff here to like, but there's stuff I also did not like. Yes, Kelsey.
I was going to say, I think wanted to bring this up somehow, but I think it's interesting because I think the originals are like you three, maybe I'm speaking for all of you, but your Star Wars, right? And this is mine. So to me, these movies are like, I have better memories watching these ones than I do the originals.
Yeah.
Even though I think objectively, obviously the older ones I think are much better, just acting wise in general. I think these ones, because I was 6, 9, and 11, it was the first time I ever watched Star Wars as well. So these were like so important to me, and obviously I watched them with my dad, so I feel sentimental towards them as well.
Of course, yeah, of course.
And
I think a lot of people my age might feel, they were our first exposure to Star Wars as well. Because when the first one came out, a lot of people my age, we were 6, 5, 4. So I don't think if we watched A New Hope or if we watched episodes 5 and 6, would we even remember them? I don't know, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Think just a little caveat.
No, absolutely. And we'll try our best not to denigrate your entire childhood memories.
Thank you.
Bobby can speak for himself. I can't make any promises.
No, we know Mark can't make any promises on that. The funny thing for me is I didn't actually grow to like Star Wars until episode 7. I just watched them as films to be like, oh, that's Star Wars. That's that big popular thing. And it's not like I had any fondness for them. I saw the original movies once, and then I saw the prequel movies all once. So my actual growing Star Wars fandom started around episode 7, and then what was after episode 7? Rogue One.
Yeah. Yes.
That's when I was like, oh,
except 8 comes after 7. One. Justin.
Yeah, it's like 8.
That's when I became a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I think I watched them as a kid, but I think my first my first real when I started really getting into it was probably when they re-released them in the theater, the original trilogy, which I think was just a few years right before the Phantom Menace.
97, yeah.
97, yeah. So a year,
2 years before,
1 or 2 years before. So that was the time I really started being like, oh wow, I really like these movies. That was the time where I was 13 or whatever. So I was starting to actually think about movies in a different way than just I watch this and then I go play with my friends. It was a different thinking at that point. So yeah, let's get into Revenge of the Sith, and sort of go through it. We always start with talking about how we feel about the opening crawl. So I just wanted to mention that I think of all three of them, feels the most like a Star Wars opening crawl. It doesn't have like a lot of like political mumbo jumbo in it, or like a lot of things you don't understand because you don't, it's a very simple, like, there's literally WAR exclamation point. It's how it starts, and then just sets the scene for exactly where we are going to be starting out this movie. The war is raging on. The Chancellor has been kidnapped, and the Jedi are sent to rescue him. So it started off much better than the other ones for me in that way.
Did they use the word Trade Federation? I don't
didn't.
remember.
Oh, sorry.
I don't believe. I
don't think they
believe
did.
so.
So then it's
I felt-
instantly better.
I felt disappointed that we didn't dive into the weeds of governing.
I know,
in the
yeah,
opening
no.
crawl again.
Where's my Senate, like procedure line in the opening
Yeah,
crawl?
it's because Padme doesn't really have a role in this movie besides like defending Anakin at every instance.
No,
So-
and that's one of my big notes on like the bad part of the movie.
Yep.
But like rolling in, I will say rolling into that and into a big on my good section. I think this whole entire opening like action sequence is good. Like I think the reveal, like how it starts on the ship. I wrote big Star Wars thing because we got a big ship, and then it reveals out into an even bigger scenario, which is a very big Star Wars trick. And I think like that whole first of all, it looks great. It's the first of like the movies where I feel like there were times where I was watching it. Most of the time I was watching it, I was like, this could have come out now, and I wouldn't have like really blinked about how it looks. There were a couple times here and there, but for the most part, I felt like they did a really great job. And that battle is really cool, and it's really they haven't started any of the movies in that way up to this point, so it was neat. And you get to see the differences. It does a good character job showing the differences between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and but I think a lot like a lot of the movie doesn't know what to do with Anakin because it wants to set up this idea that he's this troubled man who's going to end up is just teetering on the edge of the dark side. But like 85% of the things he does in this movie are like good, selfless, like hero stuff. And then just 15% of it is like, now I'm a murderer of children. So it's like, I feel a little bit like in this beginning is the same thing, right? He is like, he won't leave Obi-Wan alone. And I know George Lucas wants you to give it like, he wants you to take this Jedi approach to it, which is like, oh, he has an attachment and that's going to end up leading to his like demise. But all it makes you think as the viewer is, this is a good guy. Like he won't leave his buddy alone.
Yeah, poor thing. His friend doesn't want to stick with him.
Yeah.
Sucks.
I mean, what did you all think of the opening? Mark, what did you think of it?
With that opening sequence, especially what led to him being like, his fate will be the same as ours. I thought it was very nice for Count Dooku to very lightly just lay that platform on him. But he could have crushed his legs, but he just so gracefully, elegantly placed it on top of him so that it could be easily moved later. Just great foresight from him. Also, I thought it was interesting. It looks phenomenal. I agree with you on that. So let me just heap the praise and keep that up first before I crap on the movie some more. It looks great. I honestly agree with you that it could have been episode 9 as far as like a lot of the visuals, and I wouldn't have blinked an eye. So it still looks great. But I think some of the acting choices, not by Hayden Christensen, but instead by Senator Palpatine, are interesting, or Chancellor Palpatine.
Horrible.
Sorry.
Horrible.
Very interesting choices. He's been slow playing this for a long time to get to this point. And then as soon as he has like Dooku in a vulnerable position, he's like, great job, Anakin, kill him. I'm like, oh, I don't think you're really hiding your evil side that well right now, but that's a choice.
One of the many amazing one-liners we get out of this movie.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
is a little much.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there. The other thing that I gathered from the opening sequence is that droids are useless,
Yeah.
and blaster shots in the prequels do nothing to anyone except for during Execute Order 66.
Yeah.
Which confused
true.
me.
It's true.
Very confusing.
It's very true. Justin, any thoughts on this opening?
I mean, it was fine. Was it Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
That fight sequence was pretty good. Obi-Wan once again just getting knocked out really easily, and then you get that execution scene.
A recurring motif.
Yes. Right after the line, which is Sith Lords are our speciality. He just gets
It's like you've gotten worked by this guy like 3 times. But I thought that I actually thought this fight scene, and I think it degrades later, but I thought the actual fight scene between what's his name, Dooku and Anakin was good. I think it mirrors more some of the sequels fight scenes where it looks like the lightsabers have some sort of weight to them. It's not like they're just constantly flipping around. Like it's a battle. Like when he grabs Dooku's hands and then uses the lightsaber to cut him off, I was like, oh, that was like an actual move. Yeah. Like he did it like a neat thing there. Later in the movie, we're going to get into ballet with lightsabers. We'll talk about that then.
One other thing I do want to throw in before we kick it over to the other two here is I think it was an interesting choice to have Count Dooku do a front flip off of that platform down. Like you didn't have to have him do that and make it very obviously CG. It's like, oh, I've been taken out of it already.
Yeah, there's a recurring theme in this movie.
Walk down the stairs would probably take a while.
There's a recurring theme in this movie of them having old gentlemen do like wild ass shit, and I'm like,
and why shouldn't they?
Through the air.
Because it doesn't match at all when they're not doing the wild ass shit. Like when Christopher Lee is swinging that lightsaber and it's actually Christopher Lee, it looks like he's gonna fall over when he's swinging it. And then he's like flipping. He is trying his best, but then all of a sudden he can flip around like a crazy gymnast.
Palpatine later in the movie is literally walking hunched over with his hands like this, and 2 seconds later he's doing a fucking cyclone through the air.
Yep, he's doing like the Psycho Crusher move that M. Bison
it's called
does in
Sith powers. Okay,
it is.
I don't want to defend the Sith here, but in his defense, that is part of the act to make them believe that he's weak.
It's true.
So if there's one person you can excuse, it'd be the Emperor.
Yeah. It's just the fact that when it's like, in Captain Marvel when they de-age Samuel L. Jackson, and like he looks young, but whenever he's walking, you're like, this is a 65-year-old man. Like he doesn't walk like he's 30. You know what I mean? So it has that same that little bit disconnect. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is like it comes up. It's like a little ridiculous. Know, do you have any notes on this opening or any thoughts on the opening?
Yes, I do. So in the first 10 minutes of the film, I know I said I was going to come in here defending my British Columbian king, my Vancouver native, but you definitely see that Hayden's acting was not the best. One of my favorite lines was when they save Palpatine and he's like, oh, how are you guys? Whatever. And then Anakin's like, my powers have doubled since we last spoke. And it's like, okay, dude, like, relax. But like, I think it's interesting because you guys are talking about how like, Palpatine's acting was not like the best. Like he was clearly like overdoing it to show that he's evil. And then I feel like at the same time, like, I think an emphasis for like, I guess it's like I'm seeing this from a kid's point of view, but like it's an emphasis for like me at that age or like other kids to be like, okay, Anakin's being gaslit, gatekeeped, and girl bossed, and Obi-Wan is just like on the floor, clearly a doll. Like now that I'm looking back at it, and you're kind of like supposed to, I guess, understand that we're not supposed to trust him, but like obviously like Anakin's like clearly being gaslit. My other thought is that General Grievous coughing, very not 2020 friendly. It made me very uncomfortable. I was like, he's coughing a little too much.
Put a mask on, Grievous.
Yeah, like literally. I was like, okay, just coughing everywhere. That's fine. And then the relying on the elevators in this scene, I was like, guys, take the stairs.
Yeah, there's a lot of elevators.
Jesus Lord.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, oh no, we can't go down the elevator. Like, just leave.
Yeah.
I was a little bit like, Obi-Wan, come on.
Yeah. Well, it's
Come on,
also
dude.
it's also interesting because in the last movie we literally saw Obi-Wan and Anakin jumping off of skyscrapers and falling like thousands of feet
Exactly.
and landing on a moving vehicle and being completely
They're like,
fine.
Oops.
Yeah.
R2, hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Just the moving standards of what is allowed
Yeah.
in the physics of the world.
Totally.
But I'm glad that Kelsey brought up
It's funny.
Grievous
It
with
was a
his
funny
coughing.
scene.
Yeah.
Because like Grievous has all these cybernetics, right? And he's coughing.
Exactly.
But then he can
Nobody
go into
thought.
space and he's cool. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just destroys the glass, goes into space. He's like, oh, I'm good. I have no breathing issues when I'm in space. Why would I have breathing issues there? There's no oxygen. It's fine. And then he comes back inside the ship and he's coughing again.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe it's our air. Maybe he doesn't like.
Maybe the air
is the
makes
problem.
him cough.
The air is the problem. Because
You
I mean,
think
I
he would
think
have fixed that on his own ship?
this is like the idea. This is one of the failures of the movie, and I think only gets enhanced if you watch other media that they put out around these movies. Because like Grievous is like sick as shit, and like I don't mean sick like sick. I mean like really fucking cool.
Yeah, he's cool.
If you watch like the Tartarovsky like Clone Wars
When he doesn't
cartoons that came out before this movie came out, or you watch the Clone Wars series that came out after this, like he's an interesting character and he's got cool things, and you learn about why he's got like the heart and like the lungs and what the whole deal with him is or whatever. But this movie does a terrible job. It's just it's definitely just like a design over like substance like addition to the movie, right? Because like the idea of him having all those lightsabers is like he killed all of these other Jedi, and that's how he got these lightsabers. But
Yeah,
this,
fucking sick.
and this it just feels like, oh, he
What
must
a
have
good
found
scene.
these somewhere because he's terrible. He can't fight.
Yeah.
He just swings them around, and then like Obi-Wan just works him
Amazing.
like, completely.
Swings really fast.
Yeah.
He feels,
Okay, well,
kind
hang
of
on.
like how the collector appears in Marvel. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I have a collection of these lightsabers. Like, all right, dude.
Let's think about something though. To be fair, because I think General Grievous is cool. I have always thought
I
that.
do too.
At the end of Attack of the Clones, when they're having the battle in the arena, right?
Mhm.
How many Jedi did you just see get worked there for absolutely no reason?
Yeah.
So it's not like in this world, just because you're a Jedi doesn't mean that you're a great fighter. The Jedi Masters are, but rank and file Jedi were getting taken out no problem one-on-one with clones.
Yeah.
Like
I'll argue
So him-
against that. In the prequels, the Jedi Masters are also just basically rank and file Jedi, except
Yeah,
for
they
the
all get
ones you
killed
are
very
familiar with.
easily.
I know they all.
problem.
I
have
know.
a
I'm
problem
talking
with
about
Jedi
like.
Masters.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about like Obi-Wan going against him would be like there's a difference there between him later in the movie fighting Grievous and Grievous killing Jedi like that were at the end of Attack of the Clones because they all
Yeah.
died
Mhm.
real
Fair.
easy.
But like the
Right.
idea of a villain like Grievous is if you're setting up a movie or a story
Yes.
in the correct way, is that you're gonna give weight and power to Grievous before he has to fight like one of your central heroes of your movie. You want to go into that fight believing there's a chance Grievous can beat Obi-Wan Kenobi, or the fight has absolutely no meaning. Which they made it so it seemed like Jango Fett could almost beat Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they didn't even do that for Grievous. So I think like they did a poor job of kind of giving the character any sort of real weight they made this mistake is a domino from Phantom Menace, where they killed Darth Maul at the beginning of Phantom Menace, and all of a sudden you have this like really interesting quote, but like cool villain that you get rid of, and then you're just like cycling in a new villain every movie, and it doesn't build as much as it could build, because if Grievous shows up in Attack of the Clones early on or something, that and fucks up Obi-Wan or whatever, like then when he fights him later in this movie, it would mean something, but it like means nothing when you see General Grievous, because you're like, first of all, you're like, who the hell is this guy the first time you see him? Because there's no context to. He's in the opening crawl. It says something about General Grievous.
He's
in
a
the opening
bad
crawl.
guy.
Yes, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Unknown
it.
bad guy with cybernetics, which again,
with
prior to when they
6
zoom in,
arms.
he's
So
a,
you don't even know
but
he has 6
but
arms
prior to
until
that,
later.
You think he's a drone.
Yeah.
Like, you just think he's a drone
Yeah, you
until,
do.
like, you get,
Yeah,
like,
you
why
do.
is that drone coughing? This
For
is
sure.
weird.
Yeah.
They're
Well, I mean,
robots.
to
Why
be
are they
fair,
coughing?
The droids in this movie have like weird conversations with each other. Like when
Right, but they don't
I
cough.
R2
love it.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I know they
love
don't
it.
cough, but they're like, "Hey, you," and they're talking when they're talking to R2.
Yeah,
They're
it's
like,
so
you,
cute.
you stop that! You stop that right now!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
why
R2,
you?
and R2 fucks their shit up.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
He literally roasts 2 of them.
I
I was
know.
like, this got dark. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, the crime.
This was part of the thing where
Sheesh.
they always do, where they would like every one of these prequels. They're like, look at this power R2 has that he never
Yeah.
illustrated at any other point in the movies. But I mean, I don't
He's
care.
like the
I love
Superman
R2.
of the Star Wars universe.
He does, yeah. It's like
They just
throwing
keep
his
giving him
chest.
new powers. Like, oh, what else can he do? He's like, he's gonna punch this guy in the nose
Yeah.
with a bolt.
Because he's
And
cool.
now he's like a Bond car, and he's
Yeah.
got oil that he just
Yeah.
spills all over the place. Spare oil,
Okay.
which is clearly bad.
And
Because
do
you see
you
how dark it
question the
is? Like,
Bond
it
car?
needs an oil change. Yes, I question everything. That's part of my problem.
R2D2 is cool. He's unquestionably
He's cool. He's
Um,
cool, but he
He's
keeps getting
un-
new powers. I waited
There's
for him to
no
have ice breath.
argument.
Yeah. Ice breath.
we should move forward, otherwise we're going to.
I want to ask, but I want to ask one question. Do you think,
Okay.
because there's that moment where they get caught in those shields, right? And Anakin's
Yeah.
like, I pick patience or whatever. Do you think they meant to get caught? Because they say that they have that weird line. They're like, we're smarter than this. Why did we get caught in this? And then when they get to the bridge, they have like a whole like spiel that they're giving to Grievous, right? Like, oh, don't mess it up, Anakin. We're here for something. So did they mean to get caught and brought in front of Grievous, like in that moment to try to
No.
take him out? No, right?
I never thought so.
Kelsey, what do you think?
Definitely not.
I was gonna say I never thought so either, because I find like it is something that happens though in Star Wars. It happens in Phantom Menace as well, with Qui-Gon. Like they get caught a lot and then they solve the problem. So I think like it is kind of a nod to the fact that they get caught in these situations and they're like, we're Jedi.
Right. Yeah.
We'll get out of this. Don't you worry. And like,
The Jedi
you're like, okay,
are-
good. They're gonna live.
The Jedi just are consistently failing upwards in these
Yes.
films.
They are.
It's
Yeah,
actually
that's
kind of
the- that's the
amazing
point of
that
this
they've been put
movie.
into power.
Yeah. And we've talked about this right for the other movies, right? Which is that I think George Lucas is trying to say something about like institutional power and these people
Yeah.
who were originally meant to stand for one thing, but then sort of like lost their way along the way. But he's just so he's not good at telling those kind of stories. Like he's just not good at writing the dialogue that
What do you-
supports that story.
Palpatine says it 70 times
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
movie.
Oh,
You didn't get it?
The best way to deliver a message, to have a character say it out loud. So the end of this like opening, right? They go back to Coruscant. There's this whole thing with like, Obi-Wan's like, you go talk to the press. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Like, you're the one who has to deal with that
Yeah.
shit. Like, if you want to be
Leaves
the
Anakin behind.
if you want to be the political guy, you have fun. They have a nice little exchange between each other, and he goes to do his thing. And then every time it happened in this movie, I wrote in giant letters, "Ugh, love dialogue," because we get a scene between Anakin and Padme that is somehow worse than the scenes in Attack of the Clones.
Wait, Kelsey, can you honestly tell me there is an ounce of single chemistry between these
First of
two
all.
actors?
First of all, Justin, my big note here: Anakin holding Padme. Okay, Anakin says, "I don't care if they know we're married." Oh, amazing! Truly the hottest thing. Doesn't care. The best line of the movie, I think.
I think it's because he's all horned up.
Yeah.
It's very obvious that
Yeah.
he's really searching for some, and he doesn't care.
Okay, I'm sorry.
if they get
I'm
caught.
I'm sorry. He went to war, and he came back,
Mhm.
and he sees his banging wife. She looks gorgeous. That's the first scene where Padme
Okay,
walks on the screen.
that's-
She looks like a broad. She's so hot. If I were Anakin and I saw her hiding behind the pole, I would be like, sorry, King of Alderaan, gotta fucking go.
I mean, that's the first thing we'll
I have
agree on
other
is
things.
she was looking great.
Yeah.
Big
She
fan of
looked
Natalie
great.
Portman. And the
Beautiful.
costumers did an A+ job.
Yes.
This whole
But
movie,
after
she looks
he's,
fantastic.
I agree. After he gets dehorned and she's like, hey, you know how you're feeling real hot and heavy? Something great's happened. I'm preggers. And he's like,
His
this is a
Yeah.
happy moment.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
great. I'm like, okay, not selling it well. And then he's come down from being horned up from coming back from war, and he's rational brain. He's like, we do have to be careful. And then they're hugging, and then in the background you can see 15 different people in their line of sight watching them
Yes.
embrace.
They're behind
I'm
a
like, yes,
column.
we have to be careful. No, they're not. At that point, they're in open sight of everyone in the background. I'm like,
Yeah.
this wasn't a great shot for them to pick.
Yeah.
It would be
after
like
that
if I
line
was
of
like, oh, I'm
dialogue.
going to go have my secret affair, and I went like this in the camera. I was like, okay. Like, that's essentially
Just
what it was.
tucked,
Just
tucked
moved
in the
off to the
corner,
right a little
not
bit.
even, not off camera, just
No.
tucked in the corner
Tucked
a
in
little
the corner
bit.
of the camera. Oh, and again, I would say that this movie's biggest problem. I mean, this dialogue is terrible, and they have no chemistry, and
They have no chemistry.
They
It is an Oscar-winning actress
yeah,
Mhm.
acting with a piece of cardboard.
yes.
Who has lines.
Anakin is
look,
just a
to be
giant
honest-
himbo. He's just a giant himbo.
Yes.
But like he doesn't
Go
have
ahead,
any chemistry, and they have this whole like tortured love like thing going on where they're trying to portray, right? Oh, and she's like, you know, even Attack of the Clones, and then in here I feel like I'm dying every day is like the like essential like message of this. This is terrible.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do if you get caught? Like, I'm not gonna be able to be a senator anymore. You're not gonna be a Jedi anymore. Our lives are gonna be ruined. And then on a dime, she goes, Annie, I have some wonderful news. I'm pregnant.
I wanted to say that I think that Obi-Wan and R2 have a lot more chemistry than Anakin and Padme have. And I'm saying
Here's-
that unironically.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about these prequel movies, right? The overall concept and story arc of Anakin is one that's, I think, very believable. Like, to fall in love and to turn away from what you know, and to have like these
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
betraying thoughts over love, right? That could have been portrayed in these movies so much more, because it's a believable thing. It could have been portrayed in a way where you're like, I totally buy this.
Yeah.
But watching the two of them together, it's almost like you're talking to yourself in a mirror, like practicing your lines. Like
Yeah.
everything is so stilted and doesn't have any warmth at all.
No.
And even the fake warmth that he's trying to convey, it's the best day of my life. It's like someone has a gun to the back
Yeah.
of his head while he's saying
I have
it.
an argument.
Okay, bring it on.
Please,
Okay.
give it to me.
Jedi are taught not to show emotion. Okay? So he's doing his very best to control the insane amount of love that he has for Padme ever since he was 6 years old. He's loved this woman. And as a Jedi, he's taught to keep it inside. So that's why it comes out awkward when he speaks.
Could it
Because-
just be that he's not a good actor?
No, he's actually the greatest actor because he's making you think that they don't have
This is
chemistry.
incredible.
He's making you think that they don't have chemistry, just like he's making everybody else think that they don't have chemistry.
Sure. Yep.
It's
I'll
meta.
buy
You
that
just don't
explanation.
understand.
I'll buy that explanation if the lack of chemistry was only in that scene and not in their scenes where they were alone together.
No, it has to be all the
Out
time.
of
He has
view
to
of everyone.
commit. No, he
Oh,
has to commit
wow.
because
I've
if he
never thought about
lets
it.
it go when they're alone, then
I
how can he
would-
handle it when they're in person?
I would buy this argument if Anakin's whole personality is I don't want to do what the council says. I want to be my own person. So like that's why I don't buy your meta excuse, though. I think it's a very good try. Explaining
It
what
was an
Hayden Christensen
extremely good try that I've never
An
heard
excellent
before.
try.
is a
It's the
terrible
truth, but
actor.
whatever.
So Kelsey, speaking of, just to let you, if you want to talk about it, like the next scene we see him without a shirt on. So I don't know if you want to
Oh my
speak
God,
to
I
this.
know.
A little sweaty.
A
A
little
little
sweaty.
sweaty.
Guys, when I was 11, I was obviously in love with Anakin, right? Then he has a dream about his overwhelming love for his wife. He's freaking out. She's about to die. He's shirtless. I'm like, this is too much emotions for me to handle. And as I sat here 2 days ago as a 28-year-old, I felt the same. I was like, wow, this was too much to handle. And also, going back to how good Padme looks, another great scene, the costume design for Padme in this movie. She looks like a fucking ethereal angel.
It's true. Natalie Portman is
She looks
gorgeous.
so good.
And she looks so good, but she obviously does not want to be in this movie because she is
What?
she's terrible in these scenes. And Natalie Portman is generally a very good actor. She's great. She's terrible in these scenes. Like
Oscar-winning actress and well-deserved.
Yes, very well
in these
deserved.
other roles.
Hayden Christensen won a Canadian award. Okay.
Hayden Christensen.
For his role in a
Can I
TV show.
just say something? Hayden Christensen is not a terrible actor. Like he's been in movies in which he has been good, but in this movie he is terrible. And all of these, like, I just don't buy. Like, he's not good at showing an internal struggle happening within his psyche. You know. I mean, we do learn, right, that
Or he wants you to believe.
apparently the audience, he knows the cameras are there. We turned out he's just the ultimate wife guy. Like, that is like all he is, right? Is like, he's like number one wife guy. Like, that is who he is.
Just thinking of the movies later when Luke finds out that that's his dad. He's like, my dad was a wife guy. Made him Darth Vader.
I just like imagine Obi-Wan saying that. You know,
That's why I never took a wife.
Your dad's downfall. Wife guy.
He was a wife guy.
So we learned that he has this vision that Padme is going to die, and he has like this, like, you know, he believes it 100% to be true because it reminds him of the dreams he had of his mom when she ended up dying. Again, like as Justin said before, that setup believable, right? The plot details of that scenario are very believable, right? He had bad dreams, they came true. He's having bad dreams again. So why not believe that they were going to actually come true? Makes total sense. I don't buy any of it acting wise, but the idea of it, you know, makes sense. And then we get this, like, you know, we get our first scene. I believe the first is the scene that comes with the Chancellor, where he kind of tells him, like, you're going to be my guy on the
My inside
my
guy.
guy on the Jedi Council.
Bye.
Yeah. And these couple of scenes, like, these scenes actually do a relatively good job of illustrating why Anakin would sort of go down the road he ends up going down in some ways, because he gets a lot of support and, like, affection from Palpatine and nothing but distrust and, like, coldness seemingly from the Council, right? And they don't trust
Especially
him.
Mace
Windu hates him for whatever reason. Mace
I'm
Windu
sorry.
hates him.
That attitude, get it checked. I was shocked. I was like, okay.
I agree that the council's pretty cold, and Mace Windu is especially coldest.
This is
But
outrageous.
I think, like, the other part
Another good
of,
one-liner. It's unfair.
Unfair!
It's unfair.
Nothing makes you sound more like a
Grant
Jedi
you-
master than crying.
Grant
"It's
you
unfair."
a seat on this council, but not the rank of master. What? You can't
What?
do- This is outrageous. That's the best.
Actually, you're
line. That's the
delivering
second
with
best
way too
line.
much emotion.
Yeah.
You're trying to deliver it with way too much emotion, Justin. He says, "This is outrageous. It's unfair. This is like a little raise. Unfair." It's like,
Was it
okay,
Tommy Wiseau?
nailed it.
Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, basically, he basically is.
Justin, that was one of
can't-
my notes.
No, it was not.
I said,
But-
this acting is like The Room.
Yes!
Oh no!
You're tearing me apart.
But now you're ripping on Tommy Wiseau. That you're tearing me apart, Lisa. There's some real emotion in that.
Best line.
Oh my god.
Absolutely.
But I feel like
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
the Chancellor just keeps giving away the game with everything he does and every way that he acts. And Anakin just is face blind and can't hear inflections in voice, or even really can't hear words, because he's basically spelling out everything he's doing as he's doing it. And he's like, oh, okay, that's the council. As he's like explaining, this is what I'm doing right now to you.
Yeah.
He's like, people that have power want to keep it. I'm about to get more power in the Senate. It's like, oh, it's the council. It's like, Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're hopeless.
He's
All right,
20.
just put on this suit.
I would just say, like, at that point, he's like,
I've
he's-
taken government classes by the time I was 20. I understood plenty.
Well, at this point,
University.
I think he's under what I would assume at this point is he's starting to come under whatever Palpatine's spell.
Yeah, he's
Like-
so manipulated.
Like he's being manipulated by the dream, so he's not in his right frame of mind.
Yeah.
He gets that clarity later, and then chooses to go against it anyway.
Yeah.
I have an
Abandons it
argument.
multiple
But
times.
I would say, like, at this point, he's just been, like, over the years manipulated to the point where
Yeah.
he's not really listening
Yeah.
to the message. He's just listening to the words that are being spoken to him.
Yeah,
But not
I wrote
count- like-
down, that these scenes work. Like, I think these scenes work in parallel with each other. I think, like everything else in the movie, right? They're hitting with a hammer, right? Everything is a hammer with in these
Very-
movies. Like, there
yeah.
is no subtlety, but whatever. Even in
Right.
that context, these scenes work relatively well, I think, and you also see, like, you know, I think also you're meant to see also the hypocrisy in the Jedi, because they're also like they make all these like decrease Anakin that he can't do this and he can't do that and he can't do this, while like all of them are doing those things themselves, but just like, you know, they're already in their position, so they don't have to answer to anybody, you know. So I think like I think that stuff works relatively well, and I think these are one of the few moments in these movies that the message of what is driving Anakin to become who he ends up becoming works. Right. But like I said earlier, the problem, we'll talk about this when we get to these moments as they come up, the movie can't decide what Anakin's motivation is and why he's going to do what he's going to do. He vacillates wildly, like, between what his motivations are. And in this moment, it makes sense. I want to save two things. This man who has like helped me since I was a child. I was a scared child alone on this planet. He's helped me. He's continuing to help me. He wants to see me succeed. And these people who are supposed to be my mentors and my friends seem to treat me with disdain. So you start to see sow the seeds of distrust there, which make, you know, complete and total sense.
It also doesn't help that they ask
they
ask Anakin to go against the Jedi code and do something off the books.
Yeah.
That was like one of those things where it's just like, it's like you said, sow seeds that the Jedi aren't also on the up and up.
Yeah, and Palpatine knows this is going to happen, right? He obviously knows that they're going to ask this question. So he knows if he starts seeding doubt that the thing, because that's what the best liars do, right? They use a little bit of truth, and then also their lies seem like they're right. So in those moments, and McDermott, opposite of the scenes in the beginning we're talking about, is much better here. He's being much more manipulative, much more
measured.
The actor that he actually is, which is a very good actor, is coming out here, right? He's playing these scenes against this wooden board himbo, but they're working because he's good at what he's doing.
Is this the part? No, we're not there yet. When he talks about
Darth Plagueis or whatever.
Yeah.
No, we're not there
yet,
right?
Right?
That's a little bit later.
That's a little bit later. That scene is underlined in my things that are good, like, section of the movie. But like this seed works for me, and I think there's some interesting like very like classic sort of like, you know, Greek tragedy stuff happening in some places. Like when Obi-Wan comes to him and kind of tells him like what they need him to do, he says like, I'm on your side, but he kind of is towing the line, company right? Line. He's kind of saying like, you have to do this. And then like 5 minutes later, he's talking to Yoda and Mace Windu, and he's like, we can trust Anakin. He's a great guy. I trust him with my life.
Yeah.
You should have just said this to Anakin when you were giving him the assignment.
Yeah.
But in fairness, he does say it to him before they send him off for Grievous.
True.
And like, he tells him everything that he's getting from the Chancellor, but without any of the weird undertones.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, we've been, and we're talking about how he's built this trust with the Chancellor. He's like, oh, this is the guy that's looked out for his kid. Well, Obi-Wan has been literally by his side since he was a small child, training him to the point where both of them agree that they're inseparable and they're basically brothers. And then he just throws that away, even after he gets the validation that he's seeking from the person he's seeking it from.
Yeah. Kelsey, what did you want to say?
Okay, in Phantom Menace, when he is a literal child, they're saying he's too young, he can't join us, and blah, 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 blah. And he's just standing there in the circle, taking it. He's taking it. Even Obi-Wan, he's like, "What is this, a fucking kid? Why are we taking him on? They start as children, you know." So Anakin, you know, that affects someone mentally, okay? And then the second thing is that Obi-Wan is still a Jedi, right? Which Anakin is. But Obi-Wan will be like, "Yo, like Palpatine's not a good guy." And if you're 20 and you're like, "This guy's talking shit about my other best friend," you're gonna defend your other best friend, okay? And Obi-Wan and Anakin have this conversation where Anakin is admitting his mistakes. Anakin is like well aware of like the mistakes he's making and like the outwardly thinking of the struggles that he's having internally. He's not a thinker, he's a speaker. You know?
Yes. Yeah,
So
definitely not a thinker. That's 100% true.
he's a poet.
We'll agree on that. Not a thinker. 100%.
Definitely
Like, I
not.
just think like Anakin is still like he's 20 years old, fine, but like since he was like 6, first of all, never fit in. You know, he was always too old for the younglings. And then it's like everybody's shitting on him, and also he has all kinds of
He's
pressure.
too
It's not a
Young
reason
soon,
for him to
murder
kill them later.
I didn't say that was a reason for him to kill them later. I just said he
I
never
know.
belonged.
Yeah, that's true.
So
He
he,
really-
has
he
this
really let them
internal
have it.
struggle. That's the
Yeah.
saddest fucking scene. I cried.
He kills a little boy who looks like him when he was a little boy.
And that did not go past my 11-year-old mind. I was like,
No.
this is poetic.
No, this poetic, yes.
And that-
sorry,
That
go ahead,
boy
Mark.
does more
Wait,
with
let's-
his one line of dialogue and his one step back of him going at him than
Beautiful.
Hayden Christensen did this entire film.
Oh, man.
I felt it. Like, I felt it in my chest when that kid took a half step back. I'm like, he knows he is doomed. And that's more than Hayden Christensen did the entire film.
So again, you're insulting him. It's like he never
Oh,
wins.
it's going to be a theme. It's gonna be
Anakin
a
never
theme.
wins.
No, this is specifically Hayden Christensen, not Anakin.
They never win.
So so at this point then we do get right we get another scene between Padme and Anakin, which is another terrible scene. And every one of their by the way, every one of their scenes in this movie is the same scene. It's the same scene.
Yeah, it's horrible.
every
It's
single
horrible.
time.
That's one of my hatreds.
It's just everyone's against me. Everything is terrible.
No.
I just want to protect you. And then you're like, no, Annie, everything
We
is
love
fine.
you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole movie.
Obi-Wan would never.
The whole movie.
Yeah. Well,
He also vacillates
I
wildly
think-
between like I'm saving Obi-Wan's life. I'll never leave him. He's my brother. To why are you talking to Obi-Wan? You're my
Yeah.
woman. You know,
That's at the end. That's when
Yeah.
he's really struggling. That's at the end.
that's
So
a
let's
real
talk about
struggle.
something for a second, just because we're on this conversation of
Yeah.
Obi-Wan and then the two of them. How does Obi-Wan not know? Or does Obi-Wan know?
I think he knows.
Does Obi-Wan know?
I think he knows.
Obi-Wan
definitely
knows for
knows.
sure.
Yeah.
He knew when they were 6.
Yeah,
He was there.
I think he knows. There's
Yeah.
speak, kind of, out of like the movie verse or whatever. There's stuff that happens in like the other stuff, like the Clone Wars and stuff like that, that definitely like communicates that Obi-Wan it pretty much knows and kind of lets them sort of like do whatever they want. And then he gives her that like
Everything is Obi-Wan's fault.
sick
That's
burn
one of my
at the end of the
arguments.
fucking that cold ass line at the end of the movie.
Oh, the he's the father.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It's
I'm
like,
so
oh,
sorry, and then just
God
walks
damn.
out of the room. But anyway,
Yeah,
we'll
it's,
get
like,
to
it's like the oh my God, that was cold as ice.
we get that scene, and then we get the scene. Well, first of all, we get the scene of the whatever it is, the water opera, the Final Fantasy X blitzball game or whatever that the Emperor is watching, that Palpatine is watching.
Cirque du Soleil. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I've
Yeah.
only heard great things.
Yeah.
And then we get like what I think is one of the better scenes in like the entire like run of these movies, the prequels, which is this like Darth Plagueis the Wise sort of like tale. Again,
It's not a story
Anakin's a
that I would tell
himbo.
you.
Anakin's a himbo. He does not realize what everyone else realizes, which is that Palpatine is
He's
talking about
dumb.
himself. He's very dumb.
Very
Yeah.
dumb.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Yeah. He tells him everything. He says he's like, he couldn't all that power to save other people, but he couldn't save himself. And then Anakin's like, can I learn this power?
Yeah.
It's like, wait, did you miss the entire story? He's like, he's perfect.
Yeah.
This is my new apprentice. He's so dumb.
Yeah. But this is one of those things, right? This is one of those things that the original 3 movies did so well, which is to, with a few lines, build out like a universe that you never see that you're interested in seeing, right? Like, who is this guy? What is the world in which, Palpatine grew up and learned to be this, whatever, all of that stuff is, it sets up your mind going, and that's what Star Wars has always been great at doing when it's at its best, is firing her off your imagination about like, okay, I'm seeing this, but what is this stuff they're talking about, And I think that scene is great for that way. I think McDermott is really good in that scene as well. But man, like, and I get it. Anakin's dumb. He doesn't realize what he's talking about. But this is, again, him seeding this idea, right, of, A, I know that, the Jedi sent you to spy on me. And B, like, I know how to fix the problem that is most central to your journey in this movie, right? Which is that you're afraid your wife's going to die, and I have the answer for people who you love, who are going to die. Nowhere in Anakin's, like, brain does he think, like, this guy could be lying to me. Never,
He
even
trusts
when...
him.
Yes, but even later, when he's literally shooting lightning out of his hands, and he looks like a little frog demon.
He's healing Samuel Jackson.
Does he not ever think, this guy might be lying to me about being able to save my wife? But this scene,
that was a big problem. That scene is so problematic. Like, within making the movie believable as far as the characters and his development and how he devolves into being Darth Vader, that scene is terrible.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, can I dive into that scene really quick?
Are you talking about later when
we're not there yet?
When he actually cuts off like Mace's arm and everything? You're talking about that scene?
I really want to dive into that.
Let's get there.
Let's get there.
That's going to be a big discussion. That's going to probably be the biggest deep dive of the entire thing. So
okay. I'm
like
excited.
you said, we have Obi-Wan like is leaving, and then you said, Mark, he tells him all the nice things that he was going to tell him.
Yep.
And in this moment again, where Anakin doesn't seem like he doesn't appreciate it or doesn't believe it. He believes what Obi-Wan is saying to him. You get this idea that Obi-Wan means a lot to him, right? So
sometimes.
Oh, except when he wants to be a little angry, like
it's not fair.
Means a lot to him, and I think like that, like I think that scene works. And then Obi-Wan goes off to go fight General Grievous. Obviously, Palpatine knew this was going to happen. He wanted Obi-Wan out of the picture because Obi-Wan is the only thing that sort of like anchors Anakin.
That keeps Anakin.
To like the good stuff. Not even his, like, apparently the woman he loves, like his wife, can't do it. Obi-Wan is the only one who anchors him to I'm gonna give more credit than George Lucas deserves for this, but anchors him to what Anakin's life could have been had Qui-Gon Jinn not died in Phantom Menace, right? Like, and I think a lot of this story, right, is like, Obi-Wan was never supposed to be the one that trained him. Obi-Wan wasn't ready to train him. Qui-Gon would have been like his dad, and Obi-Wan ended up being like his brother, right? And he didn't need a brother, he needed a dad, and that's where Palpatine stepped in and sort of like took over that role and kind of shaped him as a person. That's what the movie is trying to say. Again, I don't think it's reflected very well in like the actual moment-to-moment writing and dialogue of the scenes. We actually get off world. We're off of Coruscant for like the first time the entire movie. We leave Coruscant. We see some sick ass, tall, vampire looking aliens who are like, I guess, good guys. And we kind of let Obi-Wan know, like, hey, they're here. Let's do your thing. Obi-Wan plays his little tricks, and we get our, is this when we get, yes, we get our hello there moment.
Hello there. The greatest line in all of cinema history. It's been memed to death.
Yes. And I will bring up, again, like about those the last 2 episodes, Ewan McGregor is a delight, and he's a delight at all moments, at all times. He understands the assignment, and he brings more to the movie than the movie gives him, right? So
He's an icon.
I think we said this is like you and McGregor at like the height of Obi-Wan, right? Like Obi-Wan is a fully realized at this point Jedi master.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like
Look at that
he
glorious
knows,
beard.
He has a glorious beard.
I mean, it's a fucking great beard.
and he like
But,
has
like-
that like way of like stroking
It's
it.
great.
Yeah.
God, it looks so soft. But like when he jumps down there and he's like, there's about 200
Hello
guys
there.
down there.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck it. Jumps down. Hello there. I'm gonna kill all of you. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got 7 lightsabers? No, I'm gonna fucking kill you anyway.
Yeah. So again, he takes care of Grievous like relatively easily. Like they kind of they have a
Or
like
hang
a
on, hang
trans-
I
on.
still think it was
Yeah,
a good scene though.
It is it's a fun
Like, I still think
scene.
it's a good fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight, but
In the audience, I'm sitting back in the audience watching that and being like, once I see the lightsabers like spinning, I'm like, well, this is bad.
Mhm.
Like I've never seen
I'm sorry, I
this
thought that was the
before.
coolest shit ever. but-
I thought it was pretty cool at the time too.
yeah.
Rewinding back to what Bobby was saying earlier about how like you don't get any backstory on Grievous, they kind of squeeze it in like he's like the boss of like a video game in like the 90s. He's like, "You fool! I've been taught the Jedi ways by Count Dooku. That's why I have all these
know what?
lightsabers." Woo!
That is you are 100% right there.
Yeah.
That is video game exposition by a boss.
Yeah.
You fool!
Yeah.
Yep, that's basically what happened. Like
It's-
it was crazy.
It's like, at the beginning of a fighting game, like a story moment, they have like the two character portraits come up and there's like the dialogue
Yeah.
going, and the one says, "You fool, I was trained by Count Dooku to be a Jedi."
Yeah.
But I do have a cool fight, and there's like that, like
The fight's cool. The
and
fight
like
is
Obi-Wan
definitely cool.
pries open his chest and then shoots him with the blaster or whatever, and we get like the so uncivilized moment, which is great. And I like all that stuff. Like I think that the actual action scene is good, right? And sort of like mixed with this, then we get like the back on Coruscant, we get like the full reveal, right? The full like literally like Palpatine has to grab Anakin by the face and be like, "I am a Sith. Do you not understand? I am the one who has been behind everything. And I will help. And if you join me and also be bad, I will help you save your wife." Essentially,
Yep.
is what he tells him. And this is again.
And would you not?
But here's
Would
the
you
thing.
not be bad to save your wife?
Here's the thing. Anakin's response to this is like pure and absolute anger, right? He feels betrayed by Palpatine. He feels like,
Mm-hmm.
and in that moment, like I read nothing. Again, this is because Hayden Christensen is not very good in these movies. I read no
Or meta.
no confliction from him in this moment. Like he feels like I am going to, no, like you lied to me. I'm going to the Jedi. And then he gives his little like silver tongue, like worm tongue, like, if they're going to try to kill me, and if they kill me, you'll never save your wife, like that whole thing, which sort of like sets up this idea of if Anakin's going to turn, it's going to only be not because he wants to, not because he has any thirst for power or any like any sort of like maliciousness towards other Jedi. It's because he just wants to save the woman he loves, and he'll go along with anything to do that. Going back to what Justin said earlier, a believable scenario. But that is not how the movie plays out what Hayden Christensen does, what Anakin does in these final scenes. He goes to Mace, and Mace is like, what? He's the Sith Lord? Which again, Jedi deserve to be exterminated. They're also idiots. Like,
I found myself saying the same
Literally staring
thing.
you in the face.
yeah.
But like,
Because doesn't they? I mean, they were suspecting of Palpatine, but they couldn't nail it down.
They didn't know he was a
Right.
Sith. They thought he was just like a power-hungry
It's-
politician. Yeah.
It's more,
But
it's more that he
didn't
wanted to get rid of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
not like from a
Dooku
Sith
tells-
perspective. It's like from a leader.
Dooku tells Obi-Wan, "What have I told you that a Sith is in control of the Senate?" And
Mhm.
Obi-Wan's like, "Yeah, right." And then he goes back and tells that to the
Yeah.
council, and they're like, "Well, that can't be true."
But they're
This Palpatine
stupid. That's the
guy,
whole
though.
point of this movie, Justin.
Yeah.
They're idiots.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of the whole trilogy is that the Jedi are waning in power. They've lost their like real influence,
Yeah.
and they're all these things they're doing are very like being generals in a war, doing all this stuff is not the stuff that the Jedi are supposed to do, but they're doing anything they possibly can to stay relevant, right? That's what they're doing. So when Palpatine says people will do anything to hold on to their power, he's not being completely dishonest about what he's talking about. Just the lengths the Jedi are willing to go are not like the lengths that he is like making Anakin believe they will go. Though I never believe for a second that Anakin actually thinks the Jedi want to take over the Republic. And so
he has that line though at some point when he's talking to Padme about where he says like, you sound like a separatist.
Yeah, that's after he kills
the
kids.
Okay, so I thought I couldn't remember when that line came up.
Yeah, that's after he kills the kids. So
that's the demarcation there. That line,
but,
killing children. We've now crossed it.
So Mace goes like, okay, this is surprising, but we're gonna go take care of this. You stay here. It's too dangerous for you.
That's another thing. They have. This was one of my notes. Samuel Jackson is a shit starter. He is. Yeah. Nobody cares about his fucking lack of patience at all. He is one of the Jedi that has the least amount of patience. Nobody mentions that. None. And Anakin feels excluded. All he wants to do is do a good job. He wants to be praised. He doesn't have parents. He wants someone to tell him that he's doing a good job.
But prior to that, he got told he was doing a good job by his two different daddy stand-ins. He's getting praise from everyone around him.
But all the time he's excluded.
In this scene, I think Samuel Jackson actually does this scene pretty well, where he says, no, you stay here. And if he left it at that, I could totally buy it. I have Anakin being like, no, I have to go. He says, you stay here. If what you have told me is true, you have gained my trust, but you are too close to this. Stay away. Which is a 100% the right thing to say. He's giving him validation.
Anakin
saying,
is
you're too
20.
close to this. Yes,
but he's supposed to be wise, and then that answers why you're not a Jedi Master.
He's not supposed to be wise. The whole trilogy shows that he's dumb. They know he's dumb. This is what I don't understand.
I know, but it's partially unintentional.
Kelsey, what you were saying though was that Samuel L. Jackson, like in the all other scenes in this movie, treats Anakin like shit. Where in this he actually doesn't treat him like shit. I think he treats him like an equal. And he's saying, like, if what you said is true, you have gained my trust, but you can't come. You're too close to this. You have to stay.
He's 20 years old.
But
even if he's 20, the first thing he says, he validates him. He says, okay, we're going to check this out. Not like, no, you're wrong again. He says,
but check it out without him.
He asks him, are you right? No, but he says, are you sure of this? He says,
the wrong side
he says, we're going to have to go. No, he says, we're going to dispatch immediately on the thing you just told us. And we're going to take multiple Jedi with us, just not you, because you're too close to it. He's literally saying, everything you say, I'm taking seriously and investigating immediately.
No problem. So imagine you're 20 years old, and you're a little bit of a rebel. You're a little bit wild, and someone tells you, no, don't come. This thing that you just told me, I'm going to go make sure it's correct. It doesn't matter what you said. I'm going to go make sure it's correct. And then if it's okay, then I'll come back. But you stay here because you're a little child. And you're 20 years old. You're going to be like, fuck no, dude. I'm coming. And thank God Anakin did. Thank God, because what was Mace Windu about to do? Thank God. Thank God Anakin came.
He was about to save everyone.
To the Senate.
He was going to save everyone.
Yeah. If
Anakin had a true moment.
Anakin doesn't get there.
Yeah, if Anakin doesn't show up, everything's fine.
We literally saved
for sure.
6 movies
but what
of
I'm
wars.
saying But what I'm saying is that Samuel L. Jackson wasn't acting very rational. He wasn't acting like a Jedi. Anakin was the one that's like, no, he has to stand trial. That's the way of the Jedi. And Samuel L. Jackson's
okay, so now we're there. Wait, so now we fast forwarded to the part where Anakin's there.
Just give me 1 second, and then we'll get there. So I want to say something because I'm gonna have to defend Kelsey's position on this, but for a different reason.
I'm ready for
a different reason.
Go.
And I think Mace saying to him, you're too close to this, you should stay here for your own safety, I think is like a completely rational and correct thing to do, and something that I think, like, if he was streaming Eagle, that's what he would have said. But the other half of that is the thing that makes it really shitty, which he says to him, if this is true, you will have earned my
He doesn't
trust.
believe him.
What has Anakin done since he was a baby
Exactly,
to not
Bobby.
gain their trust throughout this? All he's done is fight
What
for
has
them
Anakin done?
and win wars for them and do whatever for them. And Mace still carries this thing of like, you haven't done enough for me to trust you. So like that is the part
Anakin's
for me.
Shat on.
That is shitty. Like I think Mace's whole like, and again, this is kind of part of that like Greek tragedy sort of concept, which is that the more you try to stop the thing from happening that you fear happening, the more likely it's going to happen, right? So by saying this stuff to Anakin, by telling it, because if he actually said Anakin, just come on, let's go, and Anakin had seen the whole thing play out, Anakin been like, oh yeah, definitely. Like he should probably.
But he sees the important part play out.
He does, which I think again,
right in front of him.
This is the part which is like drives me insane.
He's stepping over the bodies of his other Jedi comrades,
Yeah.
and it's just like, no, stop.
Yeah,
Stop. I need him.
The moment that Anakin arrives, right?
Yeah.
At the Senate after Mace Windu. First of all, it's a terrible fight. It's a terribly choreographed fight. And never in any moment do I believe that Palpatine can wield a lightsaber with any sort of efficiency. Like I'm surprised it took that long for Mace Windu.
Noises.
Yes.
He goes, although, in fairness, early on in that fight, he goes 3 for 3. He makes 3 sword swipes and he kills 3 Jedi, which is amazing. That's
3 Jedi Masters too.
3 Jedi Masters on the council.
Yeah.
Stop.
3 swipes.
Like it's fucking like a scene in slow motion.
Yeah. It's
You're supposed to be
like
good at
watching-
this.
Yeah.
The way the note that I had made that it looked like when Putin was playing hockey and the other Jedis were like the goalies, like, oh, I don't want.
Yeah.
Wow, you scored, amazing.
Yeah, he doesn't use any sort of like crazy Sith power. He does that crazy like Psycho Crusher jump, and then he lands and just kind of goes like slow swing, stab. They don't even move.
Swipe.
And also Mace just kind of watches it happen. He's like, huh?
Yeah.
But
like what's that? What was that game? It was it's a Ubisoft joint. It's For Honor, where it's very polite to wait your turn to jump into a battle.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
So Mace beats him, right? And we have, again, I'll give them props for this. We have precedent for this, right? We've always heard that Mace Windu is like the best lightsaber, the best warrior in the Jedi Order, right? So he kicks his ass. He knocks that lightsaber out the window. And then he is going to arrest him. He is like,
yep.
He is like, you're going to stand trial, like whatever. He basically says that to him. Anakin hears him say it.
He sees it. He
sees
He literally says,
happen.
you were under
Yes.
arrest, my lord. He's present for when he says that.
Yes.
And then
Yeah,
for when
but-
the
Yes.
lightning shoots out of his hands at Mace Windu.
Yes. Then
He's present. Anakin is present for all of this.
Yes. And then, so you get the sense that like, right, like, so, and then again, we get this moment where the movie doesn't know, George Lucas can't decide why Anakin is going to do what he's going to do. So he's just going to throw every single reason out and hope the audience goes like, oh, of course, this one makes sense. So
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he goes like,
Pick one.
I'm old, I'm feeble, I'm whatever, like I'm going to die. Anakin, you'll never save Padme if I'm dead. Anakin, I told you the Jedi want to take over, right? This is after he's trying to kill Mace Windu, after Mace Windu has...
He's still actively trying to kill him as he's saying this. By the way, he says, I'm too weak, as lightning's still shooting out of his hands.
Yeah.
The thing that he has aggressed, he's like, I'm too weak, I can't hold it. Let go, and he'll arrest you. That's all during it.
It's
in
all
front
during.
Of Anakin.
He doesn't,
No,
shoot,
Kelsey,
he doesn't
during.
shoot lightning the whole time, guys.
He does.
No,
he's
he
holding
eventually
it
stops.
against it.
Yeah, he eventually
No,
stops.
he
Yeah.
stops.
I literally watched it at the very
I watched
end.
it too yesterday.
Right at the very end, he's like, oh, he's gonna kill me, right? But while he's saying, I can't hold it, I'm too weak, he's gonna kill me, he's still shooting lightning out of his hands into his lightsaber.
Yeah.
Which is big red flag.
Yeah. So
flag on the play.
So we know.
Yeah, Anakin's conflicted.
Anakin. So, but what is Anakin conflicted about? That's the thing. So, which of these reasons is he gonna save Palpatine for, right? Which of the reasons?
It was like to me, it was always, I have the power to save the one you love. Like that's the line, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They needed to
They
just
kept
leave it
stacking
at that.
Yes.
The
But I
whole
think there's
Jedi
something
taking
else.
over thing is like they threw that in there at the last minute.
Kelsey.
No, because I'll tell you why you're wrong, Justin. Because the whole movie, there's two things that happen. Palpatine is saying that the Jedi can't handle the power, they want to take over, blah, 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 right? Point in count, Mace Windu over this fragile old man, okay? With his lightsaber, he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, okay? 1. 2, Mace Windu is just a fucking dick his whole life. So he shows up there, and Mace Windu's like this, okay? Maybe they had to talk about being arrested,
No,
whatever.
Kelsey,
Anakin was standing there for a
you-
solid
no,
4
no.
minutes.
It's
No.
not that.
He walks in.
Just
No,
let me finish.
over him.
Stop interrupting a
No,
woman.
you can't.
Give me a
You
second.
can't. That's factually inaccurate. And that's the crux
That
of the
I'm a woman?
argument. No, that he walks in and he's ready
how
for
he
the
said
death
no.
blow.
Yeah.
That's
No,
not
he was standing. Okay, I was gonna say he's standing there for like a solid 4 minutes. Like I have like
Yes,
Anakin
there's a
watching
lot
him
of
and
time.
doing nothing.
Anakin sees the whole journey, basically.
yeah. So
You're under
at
arrest,
this point in my
lord.
notes, yeah. But then Mace Windu wants to kill him, right? Whether it's before or after the lightning,
It make
I digress.
well after.
And Anakin's like, bro, no, he has to stand trial. And Mace Windu's like, no, he has to die. And Palpatine's the only one that can save Padme. What would you do? You're 22, 20, you're in love. This guy wants to kill you. The only thing that will save Padme, and you're like, take
I'm
him
not
to trial.
saying it's
I'm a
not
logical
believable.
Jedi.
I'm
Mace
not
Windu's like,
saying it's
no.
not believable for him to make this fall. It takes an insanely gullible person, but we already know that's what Anakin is.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
poor
it's
guy.
not believable, but
Let him be a himbo.
the movie is
Yeah.
the movie's throwing out so many different things at this point. It's like Bobby's saying, like we don't know what the actual basis is because there's like they're throwing like 6 things at Anakin at one time and being like, grab any of these and believe it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
because
It's
it's not-
conflicting.
here's-
It's
Yes,
overwhelming.
but here's the thing, right? So here's the thing. He goes, okay, I'm gonna teach you how to, he kills Mace Windu, right? He goes over, he chops off his arm, and then Palpatine kills Mace. At that point,
And
Anakin
he's
goes,
horrible doing it.
yeah.
Looks
Anakin
disgusting
goes
doing
from where he drops to his knees and maybe the best acting job he's done in any of these movies and said, basically, oh God, what did I just do? Looks like
Right.
he's going to
Exactly.
vomit. And 5 minutes later, he's fucking cutting down children.
Yeah.
Like there's no room there for any type of like, I felt like I just did the worst thing on earth to I am now going to murder a bunch of kids.
I counted.
need to
I
interrupt.
counted.
Small of a bridge. It's too small of a bridge.
I counted. He drops to his knees and he says, "What have I done?" To when he says, "I'll do whatever you ask," and becomes his apprentice is literally 25 seconds with no cuts.
Sometimes you just
25 seconds.
Make rash decisions.
He went from "What have I done? I've made the worst decision of my life" to "I'll do whatever you want."
Yeah.
25 seconds.
Yeah.
But then
You guys
Palpatine
missed
goes
a
and says to
very
him-
important line. Go,
Go
go,
ahead.
go. Say it.
Yes.
No, I was
No,
gonna say, I lost it. Go ahead, Kelsey. It'll
Thank
come
you.
back. Go ahead.
So I just want to take you guys back to 11-year-old Kelsey. This is when he goes, Darth Vader. Now, imagine me not knowing Anakin is Darth Vader.
Oh
This
God.
scene, the entire movie, emotional turmoil. I have no idea where Anakin's going. I'm worried for his safety. I'm worried he's going to turn into a bad guy. Little did I fucking know. So my dad's sitting here. He goes, Darth Vader, right? And I'm like, freaking out. Freaking out. And it was just as effective this time around. I was like, wow, that came out of nowhere. I feel like I was
What a
I would have
turn.
What a turn! Who knew?
it was shocking. I
Did not
I
notice
was-
on
I
the
looked
first
at my
Star Wars
father.
poster?
Yeah, the teaser poster for the first movie is
Teaser
literally
poster.
No, guys, I did. First of all, I didn't have internet, and I didn't go to the movies. I only went with my dad.
Okay.
Like I was 11.
understandable.
Do you guys understand?
It's understandable. Yes. So,
Okay.
but what Justin's saying is, and that's my main problem with this, like, what they do, because the main, right, let's say the one sort of point that rises above the fray as far as why Anakin would do what he ends up doing. I mean, by the way, Mace gives him like 17 seconds to cut off his arm. He can literally flick his wrist and kill him with the lightsaber, and he like brings it up so high and swings down so
Overhand
slow.
smash.
Yeah. Is that he wants to save his wife, right? He wants to save the person he loves, but a person who would decide for that reason would be like, their vibe would be, I'm doing this only to save the person I love, and maybe I'm going to hate myself for what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it, Whereas almost immediately he goes into this like, I will be the ruler of the universe like vibe that he takes on. And look, there is some sort of like, psychology to the fact that when people buy in on something and then realize they're wrong, they go even harder on it because they don't want to admit that the terrible things
That's why
they
I
did were actually
defended the lightning bolts.
actually terrible.
It's big of you to admit.
But like that's why like that his transformation in the end doesn't work in these movies, because we don't get like a through line from A to Z that pushes him here. They throw a million different things out about why he would become the person he's becoming, and they never settle on something, and so it never feels like it really connects in that moment. There's also this thing, right, where they introduce this like super late. Like I think it's even after he kills the kids, where Palpatine's kind of like, the only way to get the power we need is to just be as fucking dark as possible. We gotta do the worst things possible, and then we'll be able to draw the power to do the thing that we need to do, is to save your wife, right? But that's introduced so late that he's already gone down that road so far that it doesn't give him it's not a motivation anymore. It's just like a happy accident that all this killing he's doing is going to have a benefit because he's going to do it anyway. That's the kind of thing, if they introduced it earlier, if there was this kind of idea that like he kind of realized, hey, the more I do sort of like questionable stuff, I'm gaining power. Again, like a video game, then the moment where he turns makes more sense, because he's kind of going, okay, like, I don't want to do this, but if I want to get to the place I need to get, I need to be as evil as possible. You know what I mean? And that never communicates in the movie.
So along the line of that, it's interesting because that's like the plot point of the Doctor Strange episode of What If, right?
Yeah.
And that's that works better because he's like, oh, I have to go to this dark place to try to save the woman I love.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because they introduce it early.
Yes.
And then you see the result of that deep dive into the lengths you'll go to, the evil that you'll take on to try to save the woman that you love.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. This, they do it after and try to like retcon. It's like, oh, we said it early. This is why he's doing it. But I've thought of a way that he could have saved the scene with him killing the younglings. Almost impossible. But all you have to do is have some acting ability, and they have a close-up on his face like they did, and you just see him weeping.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows what he has to do, but he's overcome with the emotion and the guilt of having to do it. And you do that, and the transformation is more believable.
Yeah.
But he's just brooding like a villain.
They do show that later, right?
When he's angry emo boy staring at the lava planet, he has like a tear in his eye. Yeah.
Yeah,
and his
but
eyes are
not
different
before
colors.
he murders
Yes.
the children. Yeah, then they turn red to match the lava.
Yeah.
Inexplicably, very close to the end of that sequence. But right before he murders the children, there's no remorse in his eyes.
Not at all.
Not like
he was
nothing
looking
about the
forward to it.
weight of what he's about to do. It's like he's like, oh man, these ones are gonna be easy.
Yeah. And then backed
Easy
up.
picking. Some of these fights have been hard, but these are gonna be easy.
so we then get, so he sends Anakin to the temple. He does the thing. He institutes Order 66, which, other than the fact that all of a sudden blasters can easily kill Jedi, is like a cool concept for like a reason, an answer to a question that everyone was asking in the original movies, which is, where did all the fucking Jedi go? Like, why are they all gone? Right. You know, especially if they were this powerful. And so, you know, I think like that's an interesting concept. I mean, you know, Yoda not falling for it. Yoda just cuts those clones' heads off. He doesn't even think twice about it. Doesn't try to rationalize with them. Doesn't give them any Yoda speak. Just fucking flips backwards and cuts their heads off. And the Wookiees are like, whoa!
Awesome.
Like, what the hell just happened? Which I love. So that scene, right? And then we get this scene with Padme, which is the only scene I think we really get with her that is not directly linked to Anakin, right? Which we didn't talk about which I like from listening to another podcast about this movie, which I call the Phil Collins In the Air Tonight scene, which is the both of them like sitting in their respective
staring
like chambers, staring at the sunset, hearing voices in their heads or whatever, you know. But we get this scene with her in the Senate, right? And she's like watching this thing, and for the only time in the movie, she feels like the character who existed in the previous two movies. She has she's like actively thinking. She's like concerned about big important matters. Yeah. Like she, you know, I mean, that line is not good. Like whatever, like that this is how liberty dies with thunderous applause or whatever. But like, she is delivering it in an interested way, which is the only time in the entire movie she's doing that.
The only time she doesn't like think or talk about Anakin or to Anakin or it's like she literally is fridged in this movie.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's disgusting.
and like
it's a shame.
So and then I wrote my notes like, if I were the Galactic Senate, I simply wouldn't believe the frog-looking demon man who is dissolving my democracy by just one single sentence right in front of me. You know, like
New Galactic Empire.
Like he sounds like a bad guy. Like I don't like he sounds like a bad guy.
See, that's been my point the entire time. Is
at
that
the same time, like people have been
deliveries-
elected.
No, yes, Kelsey.
Right.
But usually there's like a snake oil
Like,
salesman.
at the same, like
there's like a snake oil salesman nature to them. You know, they don't actually look like a demon. You know, you know what I mean?
He looks like he has two shaved testicles on his head.
Yeah.
But I thought like the line that you were talking about, Bobby, like, so this is how Liberty dies with thunderous applause, was like oddly prescient. I was like,
well, yes. Yeah.
Like watching it now in like 2021, I'm like, that line hits real differently now than it did when I first saw this movie.
Yeah. And we talked about this during the Phantom Menace, I think, like George Lucas, like as much as we rag on him for like his dialogue and stuff like that, he's not an unthinking guy, right? He has a social conscience. He has like he has thoughts and ideas and concepts and metaphors that he wants to communicate using this like huge platform he has, right? He's just not great at delivering those moments. He's not good at delivering those moments, so they mostly fall flat and just seem confusing. But he wants to talk about this kind of stuff. So I like in that moment, but again, she's engaged. Like Jimmy Smits is there, and he's engaged. The scene, like the actors in the scenes are engaged.
Right.
Love me some Jimmy Smits.
That one worked really well.
Jimmy Smits, he shows up in that car, and I'm like, Jimmy Smits is here, and his car is cool as hell. He's got like a 50s hot rod, but it's like a space car. So, but then we go to the next scene with Padme and Anakin in like her chambers or whatever, and she is right back to like, oh, I love you, but like I can't even, you know, like she doesn't care. Like she's just like, anything you say, Anakin, like, I don't necessarily think like, oh, I'm gonna do that, but I believe you because I love you, and I, you know, please, Annie, you're breaking my heart, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like she has no character of her own. Her character is, I love this guy, and I will fall to pieces if he's not with me, leading all the way up to her death, which is like just like the stupidest like reasoning for her death.
Yeah.
is given.
God,
You
Absolutely.
I have a
know,
note on that.
I
one.
still don't know
Yeah.
what her death is.
Yeah.
she died of a
we'll get
broken
there.
heart, Justin.
She lost the will to live.
She lost the will to
I
live.
thought like, so here's the thing.
Which,
when we get there,
medically
Wait,
speaking,
let's
broken
get
heart
there.
syndrome is a thing,
yeah,
but it doesn't cause death.
yeah, no.
So, but I thought like after that when when they finally like have Obi-Wan meet up with her, he's like the only character that presents his argument for why someone should help him in the proper sequence.
Yeah,
Like she's like, "Why are you here?" He's like, "I need to find Anakin." She's like, "Why? He's in trouble." From the Sith? No, from himself.
Yeah.
And then he lays out all the reasons that he's in trouble, and she's still like, "I don't believe it." I'm like, all right, well, if he doesn't get through after that, like that's the only time anyone's presented all the information
Love is
in
blind.
the proper order. They actually say
I kind
that
of agree.
earlier
I
in the
kind of
movie
agree
too.
with Kelsey on this one.
yeah. They have that whole
Like,
that
she's
never
terrible
seen him-
dialogue scene. She's like, "Love has blinded
She's
you."
never seen him. Yeah, she's never seen him like that.
She saw
She's
him
no, but
kill
she-
an entire village of
con-
beings.
On the contrary, she's only seen red flags the entire time of their
Yes.
romance in 2 and 3. She
Fine.
said
Yes.
multiple times over
Yeah, but
and
you
over.
can
She's
see
like,
red
"Why
flags
can't-
and be
What do
blind."
I have to do?" But the thing she repeats the same thing over and over. She's like, "Why can't you trust me? You're not going to let me in. Why can't you trust me? You can't trust me." It's like, okay, I think there's an issue here.
Yeah, that's her only.
It's like,
part.
"Oh, you're hiding things from me." She says it like multiple times in the movie. She's like, "Oh, you
Mhm.
can't trust me. You're hiding things from me." She knows that he's hiding things from her.
Yes, for sure. She
Yeah,
does.
but they're in a
He
toxic
says, "This is
relationship.
what-
Yes, they are. 100% they
Yeah.
are. Yes.
Like
Uh,
that's
to her
why,
death. It's
But
the most toxic
she's-
of relationships.
as
but-
most toxic relationships do.
Oh my god, I hope not. Jeez, to your death?
To women? Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody in that relationship
It
was a
happens.
winner. She was macking it on like a 9-year-old. So
She was. Yeah, she definitely.
Fair and fair.
Okay,
That
she
is
was
fair.
12.
She was 14, but
the ages
That's
in this
okay.
movie don't work because you keep saying Anakin's 20, and I'm like, that dude is at least
20.
35.
He is 20.
He is
No,
supposed
he's
to be
20.
He was
You can
20.
Google
I
it.
know in the movie he's supposed to be. I know in the movie
Yeah.
he's supposed to be
No,
20, but
like,
it's like when they
I
cast
think
Tobey
his
Maguire to go play
acting-
Peter Parker in high school.
no, but I
I'm
think
like,
he was
the
actually
man
like,
has a
age
mortgage.
appropriate.
He was. Yeah, he was
Yeah, I
not
think
that
he was-
different in
I
age.
think he
though.
was
I
20.
think
He was like in his
Yeah.
20s.
he was in his.
early
Hayden
20s.
Christensen was definitely in his
Yeah.
20s when he did because he was very young when he did Attack of the Clones.
Right.
I know he
He had
wasn't
the
that
acting
old, but-
chops. He had the acting chops of a 20-year-old, and Anakin was the living embodiment, basically like a young porn star, just young and dumb and full of cum.
That's
That's how he got her
That's
pregnant.
exactly right. That's a good explanation of who he is. So yeah, so we have this scene between Anakin and Padme, and Anakin, like, that's when he gets this whole thing. That's when he says the thing, "You sound like a separatist." That's what he said. That's when he says that to her.
You sound like a separatist.
Yeah. And he tells her where he's going. He's going to Mustafar to basically, get the separatist leaders and end the war, essentially. So he goes. We get the scenes where, so the reason that Obi-Wan obviously and Yoda are back is because there's a signal that's trying to draw Jedi in so they can be slaughtered. They go and fix that signal, and then Obi-Wan sees that, I feel like he knows because he's like, I have to know.
He knows.
I have to see. But that's essentially you get before he watches it, and then when he watches it, he goes, "No, I can't believe this. This can't be true." And I'm like, "You knew."
Well, I think it's like you're in your heart, but you're looking for that plausible deniability. You're looking for something to be like no, and then once you have that your shield to hide behind is gone. You're like, I just can't believe this. Like, it's kind of like it really hits you then.
This is the thing but George Lucas just can't not have characters say their internal feelings out loud as dialogue. Like, Ewan McGregor could have just acted that moment and it would have been totally fine. But they make him say, like, no, this can't be true. Ewan McGregor could have acted that with his face. We would have gotten it. We understand how human emotions portray on faces. So then he goes to see Padme. That's when he delivers that absolutely like ice cold fucking line where he's like, "I'm so sorry that Anakin's the dad. Sucks to be you, huh, Padme?
Yeah.
You really picked the wrong dude to be the daddy." And he knows. And this is a moment where Obi-Wan knows what he's doing, right? I don't think Obi-Wan ever believes that Padme is going to give up where Anakin is, but he knows if he tells her that Anakin's in danger, that she'll go to wherever Anakin is, and he can follow her to wherever she ends up going. Because Obi-Wan's he's a tricky motherfucker. He knows.
Yep.
He's a trickster.
He's a trickster. He's smart. So he hops on and then he like jumps in like that bathroom and closes the door while stroking his beard. They fly there, and I wrote down my notes. There's like a good moment right before Natalie Portman gets out. Like Anakin like sees that Natalie Portman sees that Padme's there, where she's sitting in the ship, sort of like she's crying and she's like trying to like kind of deal with, because she knows that Obi-Wan's not lying, right? If she can say to him that she doesn't believe it, but she knows Obi-Wan's not going to lie to her. Why would Obi-Wan lie to her? You know? So she knows, and that moment, like, Natalie Portman's a good actress, and when she is involved in the scene in which she is portraying, she is good. And then she walks out and she has to talk to Anakin, and it becomes the same scene we've seen 5 other times.
This scene is bad.
It's terrible.
It's real bad.
Well, that's where his
It's not as
changed.
I don't think it's as bad as some of the scenes in Attack of the Clones, where they're having dialogue together, but it's up there.
Yeah. It's quite bad. It's quite bad. And you know, and then, I mean, I will say, I think Obi-Wan could have waited like another like maybe 2 minutes to show up on the catwalk.
And not
Superman
stood
pose?
at the top of the catwalk with his arms on his hip like he's fucking ready to throw down, right like that. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah, like
There's an
he
easy
timed
way to
it
disarm
perfectly.
him.
He timed it perfectly so that when Padme was saying a line that could have like been like construed as, and so I brought Obi-Wan with me, he like stepped out onto the thing, you know, to be like, hey, like I'm
He
here.
practiced.
Yeah, he does, definitely. He's dramatic, you know?
He practiced.
Yeah. He loves
That's why
drama.
he's stroking that beard. He
Obi-Wan loves
it.
drama.
He's
He's
like, I'm
thinking
the
about it.
brother.
When am I gonna walk out on the entrance ramp to the ship? So I will say this too, like one of these things where like, again, the Jedi being like hypocrites, like Obi-Wan's like, I don't want to kill him. Like he's like my brother. He's like, no, Yoda's like, no, he must die. And I'm like, really? There's nothing else you can do?
They're just a walking contradiction, the Jedi. I'm sorry to say.
Like, it's just hilarious to me. So then we start like basically the fight, right? The fight between Obi-Wan
You're
and
the chosen one.
Anakin. And I will say 2/3 of this fight is rad as hell. Like, but once they get on like that platform that's like moving through the lava, I'm like, we've gone too far. Like it could have ended before this.
I agree. The ballet sequence here with lightsabers, parts of it were very cool.
Yeah.
I cannot help but laugh every time when they're on top of the table and they have their lightsabers. They're like this.
I know exactly
they both
what you're talking
reach
about.
back hand to hand like this. And it's just like, as an actor, as a director, as anybody on the set, how are you not bursting out laughing while both these guys are straining as hard as they can to touch hands, but not touch hands? It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the build up to that moment is even better because of the ridiculousness, because they do all the same moves, like with the lightsaber. So they're like, and then they do the thing where they do the hands at the same time.
Either of them could have chose to stabby, and it would have been over there.
Yeah, but they have the same technique, Mark. They think the same.
Also, leading up to that sequence where they do the handhold, the force handhold, we'll call it. There's a drop kick and then a kick to the face. What?
Yes.
Why? What? Like a literal WWE drop kick.
Yeah.
I was lost. I was like, they're like, oh, it's a missile drop kick. I remember seeing that. That's a Shawn Michaels special.
But I think overall, like the fight mostly is pretty cool, and like they have some really cool moments. Some of those, like when they're like going down those hallways and fighting each other, like it's really neat, and the choreography is really good.
Duel of the Fates, right?
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. Plus, Duel of the Fates comes back
as
as
well.
well.
It is.
Yeah. Duel of the Fates comes back in, which is
great track.
One of the best pieces of movie music probably ever written. So it's like it's, when it comes back in, it's very, very cool. Once they get sort of into that like lava river, that's when I'm like, come on guys, you've gone a little too far now. Like when he's like riding on that little robot or whatever, like, and he does that flip, he is like, now's when you die, master, and he like flips over his head, and he's like gonna fall off the platform. I'm like, Obi-Wan, why don't you just kick him in the stomach? It's over. So, but like that whole part is just like, I don't like love that part of it. And we'll get to the very end because we got to talk, because cut between this, right, is Yoda shows up to fight the Emperor. And this fight, there are moments in it that are cool, but overall, it's kind of a weak battle between the two of them.
It's okay.
Yeah. Again, I feel like Yoda could fucking slice him to pieces with the way he swings that lightsaber compared to the way that Palpatine swings his lightsaber.
For every 7 swipes Yoda does, Palpatine does 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Every one. The only reason that Yoda, I think, doesn't get it because he doesn't have the range.
Yeah.
He's like 2 feet tall.
Yeah, he's very short. And but I think I think the Palpatine stuff is more effective when they're showing him like that scene where he's like throwing the Senate discs down. I think is a much more like, oh, this guy's powerful than like I'm gonna swing a lightsaber at you.
I actually thought that was a good contrast between the two styles.
Yeah,
like it looks like the Sith have way more power.
Yeah,
because Palpatine is just picking these things up one at a time and just yeeting them down at Yoda, and Yoda has to, with like all of his power, like grab one, like concentration, grab one, think about it, spin it, and throw it back. But Palpatine is grabbing 2 at a time.
Yeah,
and just
It's that weird jump noise. I don't understand. He like watches it spin up at him, and then he goes like, "Meh," and he like jumps up.
Yeah. They were like, so that was like another thing with the choices of just acting there. It's like, why is it so cartoonish?
Yeah.
Like he could just be menacing. Like he's throwing just these different platforms at someone. You don't have to be like, "Rah."
Yeah. I do like.
I get the
maniacal.
The laughing, the maniacal laughing is like he realizes his time has finally come. He's gonna kill the head of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
Like this is his time. So I could get him being fully in his bag and like just over drunk on power.
Yeah.
But
I do like that line.
The weird cat
weird
noises.
Yeah. I do like that, my little green friend. Like I like that little little line that he has or whatever. Yeah, so like I just think that fight is pretty uneven. And then I also think Yoda just kind of like gives up. He's just kind of like, well, I fell to the bottom, so I guess I gotta go. I'm like,
well,
they trap doors out of there.
I literally never have thought about this before, but this just came to me. We hear in the next scene, I have the high grounds.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but he wasn't trying to jump over his head. We'll get to that line when we get over to that line. But like, I just think, I mean, obviously the reason he leaves is because Yoda has to be in Empire Strikes Back, and the Emperor still has to be alive. So there has to be like he has to go, and then we get like creepy vent Yoda where he's like crawling through that little vent. Sorry, Mark, what were you gonna say?
I'm saying like when he trapdoors out and he's like. He just delivers the line. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, into exile, I must go. It's like, who the fuck says that when they're got to exile themselves? You don't tell people. It's like, guys, failed I have. Into exile, I must go.
Well,
it's
that's
like,
one of like those like winky. It's like when he goes like when he's leaving Kashyyyk and he's like goodbye Chewbacca. I will miss you. You know, it's like, okay, we get it. All right, we get
the
it.
cheek pops.
You didn't have to say
The crowd
Chewbacca.
goes
We
wild.
understand. Okay, we understand.
Yeah,
you're
like
the
we
Wookiee
couldn't
player.
tell by this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we couldn't tell with
they're
Chewbacca standing in front of us that it was Chewbacca.
Right. Exactly.
So
Well, some of us didn't know who Chewbacca was.
It's
Okay.
true, but that line doesn't mean anything to you then anyway. Then, you know, so that's pointless.
Yeah, it's true.
So then they go. So then we cut back to this other scene, and then we have the thing. We have. It looks like Obi-Wan might lose, and he kind of looks behind him. He does that flip onto like the top of the mountain, the top of the hill. And he goes, "It's
Partially
over."
up the hill.
He goes, "It's over." And
I
from
have
all
the
of the
high
stuff
ground.
we've seen happen in the last 30 minutes of lightsaber battle, in no universe do I believe that Anakin couldn't have done something to not get all of his limbs cut off.
How about he just jumps and lands in front of Obi-Wan, and then they
And
have
continues
a battle
battling.
on the hill.
So I mean, I get it. Part of it is like part of like the maniacal like Darth Vader thing is he believes he's the most powerful being in the universe. He believes that nothing can stop him, whatever. But we haven't gotten to this point. I mean, to be fair, I believe half of Hayden Christensen's lines in this movie are, you don't understand how powerful I am. That's like half of his lines in this movie, essentially. So I guess in that way it's set up.
Because nobody believes him.
Yeah, well, at this point, his
Come on,
buddy,
say it.
who has trained him, who is honestly just trying to tell him, look, I don't want to chop off all of your limbs. Please do not try to
Don't
jump
try
over
it.
my head.
Too
Don't
late.
do it.
Too late.
He does. Well, he really does try to convince him here because he says, "You underestimate my power," and he hits like a little rasp in it, like, "Oh, maybe he is underestimating his power." And then he flips, and you're like, "He didn't underestimate your power. He was right. He had the high ground." And I have a note down that says, "One swipe, 3 limbs."
And one swipe, it's a good swipe. It's a
good
efficient
swipe.
swipe. But also-
Palpatine wishes he could do that.
yeah, Palpatine. He says, you underestimate my power, and in my head I wrote down your power to jump high. Like I don't understand what power he's talking about in that moment.
Right.
And this is
I
right.
can
We
flip
talked
real
about
good.
we talked about at the beginning of the show, right, where we mentioned like this is when he says the line about like in my view the Jedi are evil. You know, this whole thing, and it's just like it's something where it's like a hammer, right? It's like you don't need to say it out loud. We get it, Anakin. We understand that is your perspective. Like literally, you've killed probably 40 Jedi at this point. Like we understand that you and the Jedi are
Just in
not
Just in case.
So
Just in
the
case the
lands,
motivation's not clear.
and then we have the you were the you were the chosen one. You were
chosen one.
You.
yeah
I loved you.
yeah. I feel like if you cut that dialogue like in half, like you take like 2 of those lines instead of 4 of those lines, it's much more effective. Whatever. Again, Ewan McGregor's
Yeah,
very
it
good.
was too
So
long.
he's good at
There were
delivering
pauses, I think.
yeah, pointless lines when they don't even deliver. Like he gives them weight, but I feel like you could have cut out half those lines. And then of course, because you have to say everything out loud, he just screams, "I hate you." Anakin just screams, "I hate you." That might be the best, honestly, the best acting performance he gives, like in the entire movie, instead of movies,
Exactly.
when he screams that, because I believe it.
Everything
I do
else
believe
was
it
practice.
when he screams it.
Mhm.
But one of my notes was like, Obi-Wan, just like kill
Get rid of
him,
his
like cut his
misery.
head off or
Yeah.
something. Like you just watch him burn alive.
I loved you, but I'm going to watch you suffer.
Yeah, slowly
Right.
burn
I could make
alive.
it end. I could make it end for you painlessly.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to watch you go. If I was Anakin, I'd be pissed off too. You're literally
Is it
letting
not
me
just
burn
Jedi's
alive.
disappointing him? Exactly. It's just Jedi's disappointing him again and again.
I mean, to be fair,
They constantly
he
let him
did-
down.
At this point, he's driven Obi-Wan to like try to kill like this person he probably cares about the most in the world after murdering a bunch of children. So I don't have a lot of like
Doesn't matter.
sympathy for Anakin in this moment, but I do wish that
Yeah.
you think Obi-Wan, I mean, he could have solved a lot of problems too if he had just killed him there,
Right.
because then they never would have been a Darth Vader. But so we get this scene, and we also Palpatine leaves Coruscant. I forgot to say that because like I feel like my apprentice is in danger or whatever. I feel like Lord Vader is in danger. I just want to say, at this point, when he calls him Darth Vader, it makes no sense because Darth Vader literally means Dark Father, and he's not. Why? Why is he called Darth Vader?
He is
Why-
a dad.
Not
He has
yet.
2 children, Bobby.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not
Yes.
yet. When he
I'm sorry,
anoints him
life
as Darth
begins in the
Vader, he
womb.
doesn't.
So
But that
Wow.
suggests then that the Emperor knew that she was pregnant on top of it.
yeah, which he probably did,
Yeah.
right? Because
He knows
like,
everything.
Which he could've.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we even mentioned, we kind of like alluded to it. He chokes out Padme.
Yeah, he
Chokes
does.
her out. Also, that
I wanted to ignore it. I was
in that
grateful we
moment,
didn't bring
he's
it up.
choking her, and Obi-Wan is like, Anakin, stop. Let her
You
go.
Stop that.
Like,
Stop
why don't
that
you
right
just-
now.
So he lets her go.
But it
so
does
she's
work.
still,
That's when I
He
knew he was
stops.
gone.
she's still alive, but she not doing great.
She's sad.
Obi-Wan
She
gets
got
back to the
sad from
ship.
the choke.
The only thing she asks when she sees Obi-Wan before she like passes out is like, is Anakin okay? They fly away.
Left him down
That's
there.
great.
He's probably fine.
He's probably fine. Palpatine shows up, takes him, and then we get this sort of like, kind of like cut together, like multi-cut birth scene that happens basically.
Beautiful cinematics.
The birth of
Beautiful.
Darth Vader and the birth of these children with that
Luke and Leia.
with that robot who just like keeps going like, oh wow,
Ooba.
ooh, ah,
Ooba.
ooba, ooh, ah, ooh,
gosh, she's soothing.
And this was like another big misstep, right?
Yeah.
Because they have the chance to be like, oh, how is she doing? She's like, she lost oxygen from that force choke, and she's not doing well. But they're like, medically she's fine, but she's seemed to have lost the will to live. Why?
Yeah.
You had an out. He choked her while she was pregnant with his kids. Yeah, the kid survived.
Because they're in love.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I'm saying it could have been more logical. He choked her.
Yes.
That's a good
that's
reason
what
for
kills
her to end
her.
up
Like,
dying.
Love-
thing.
Right.
Love isn't logical.
No, that's not what he's
This
saying.
has nothing to do with their love. I'm saying she didn't have to die because she lost the will to live. She could have died because he choked her out in anger.
Also, they also honestly, like, they didn't actually have to kill her in that moment because nowhere did they ever say that Padme died in childbirth. They just said the kids didn't know her. And in fact, Leia in the original trilogy speaks about her remembering her mother's voice and stuff like that. So, and primarily that is only in these moments when she is first born that she hears her mother's voice. But like, so they had to kill her there. I get it, whatever. They did it, whatever. But like, the reasoning behind it was really bad. Again, it totally strips her character of any agency or any anything.
See, I always thought it was just
Also,
I thought like the lost the will to live was like Palpatine, like had something to do with Palpatine, like helping her, like that's. But I always assumed that like that's why, because lost the will to live makes no sense at all.
No.
So I was trying to give the movie like a little more justice, like this is definitely Palpatine, because when Vader asks where she is, he's like, oh, you killed her, and like that to me, I thought that was him just covering his tracks.
No, I think that was just him. It was sort of, but it was to motivate him. It wasn't to like. It was to say like this thing that you want. So because essentially, right, if Padme's still alive in that moment, and if Palpatine tells him Padme's still alive, that's still going to be his central focus, right? Is his attachment to Palpatine and his attachment to Padme, and Palpatine doesn't want him to be attached to anything either, right? She wants him to feel, and he also wants him as like angry and self-loathing as possible to sort of like be in his like employ or whatever. But there's a couple
the
moments
most emo
when the mask first goes on, right? It looks really good, the lighting is really cool, and then where you hear the breath, and I'm like, I wrote my notes. The movie should have ended there. They should just cut the movie there, or cut the Darth Vader stuff there, because then we get that again. He just can't let anything go by without like a bunch of dialogue that doesn't need to exist. So we get James Earl Jones back, right? But I feel like James Earl Jones is like doing like a Hayden Christensen like impression with like the way he's like delivering his dialogue, because he's doing it in like that sort of like stilted kind of like slow way that like Hayden Christensen delivers his dialogue.
It is Hayden Christensen in the suit.
No, but it's not his voice.
It is Hayden Christensen.
It's not his voice. It's James Earl Jones' voice.
Right.
It's the original Darth Vader's voice.
In the suit.
It's the
because Hayden Christensen's in the suit. We
see the thing. Again, there's another moment like when we see the mask coming down and you see like the fear on his face as the mask is about to like go onto his face. A good moment. They could have just put this stuff together and then shown the reveal and then like cut away from it. But they'd have to give like the "Where's Padme?" like line.
Is she safe?
Is she safe? No, she was alive. I felt it.
So the only cool part about this scene is where he starts tapping into the dark side's like power and crushing everything in the room.
Yeah.
Like that part was neat. It was just like, okay, like he's now getting all this extra power, but the whole just
he could have just done that without having that all that dialogue. Like he could have just tapped into that, because guess what? The person he trusted most in the world, who taught him his entire life, just cut off 3 of his limbs and left him to burn to death. That's enough anger.
Right. That's a lot of anger. Like I think it would have worked, like showing how cool his powers were that he's forming, if he didn't, like, as he was saying, not know what to do with his arms and just kind of leave them half extended out, and he didn't drop to his knees. Like if he dropped to his knees, I believe the no. It's like, no.
He also took that really weird step coming off the thing.
It did,
like he was on the moon.
Yeah.
Well, see that now when I watched it again, it makes more sense. It's like, well, these are new legs. It's like my mama called them my walking legs.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
take
definitely.
me
Yeah,
anywhere.
but it
Right,
looks
so
that
super
made sense
awkward
to me.
Yeah,
It looks awkward,
Yeah.
but I would have forgiven that if like he dropped to his knees or he knew what to do with his hands and didn't T-Rex arm his no.
yeah. So then we cut back right to the it's so funny because we're in like the ship right from the beginning of A New Hope, and like the stark difference between how the design of that ship looks compared to every other vehicle in the prequels is like crazy. So he's in there and they're deciding, okay, like we gotta hide the babies, right? So their genius idea, which I always thought this was so weird, the two places they hide the babies, one is with a super famous senator, right? Who's constantly in the public eye. The second is at Darth Vader's old house.
Yeah.
Where I mean, you know what though?
Not even
Hidden
his
in
home,
plain
not
sight.
even just his home planet.
No, his old house.
At his old house.
It's the last place.
Well,
he
they
could
already
probably
know
look.
Anakin's stupid.
That's true. You're right. You're right. I mean,
They
they
know
make
he's
this big
dumb.
deal in like in the sort of like they used to, at least in the extended universe stuff, that like the reason they kind of wrote it in that like the reason why it was a safe place because he never wanted to go back there because of like the pain he felt there, which makes sense. Like, you know, he would never want to go back there. Why would he even look there, right? Plus, he doesn't even know he has kids at the beginning, so like he's not even searching for them, right? But
In the comics, he does eventually go back.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's after. You know, it's around when Luke is running around with Han.
Yeah. So so there's that. He goes back, and then we get our final scene. So Obi-Wan says, "I'll go there and I'll like watch over him and protect him."
But here, wait, one more thing. One more thing that we have. It's been. When did this movie come out?
2001, 2002,
No.
2001.
No,
2002?
it had to be after that.
No, after.
No,
I was-
2004, 2004, 2005.
Yeah, 2004.
2004. Summer 2004.
2004 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, summer 2004.
Yoda says to him, like, I'm going to teach you something. You'll be able to commune with
Oh yeah.
your old master. And I was like, that's awesome. And we might finally get to see that sometime next year.
In that Obi-Wan
Which I'm
show.
very excited about to get Qui-Gon back.
Yeah. And then we get the scene, we get like the sort of like Darth Vader sitting next to the Emperor scene. And it's this real moment where like, I know it's supposed to look tough, but it looks like Darth Vader stands next to him and he like kind of looks at him and he's kind of like, I'm just going to cross my arms so I can look like I'm a big tough Sith Lord. I cross
big
my
tough
arm.
guy.
You know,
But that's Anakin.
yes,
He
I
always has to
understand
prove
that.
himself.
And this is one of those things which I'll say, which is like, I think the reason why people who grew up watching like the original Star Wars movies have a much stronger response to this. It's because in the original 3 movies, Darth Vader is like the coolest, baddest motherfucker in the galaxy. And in this, he's like, I am just upset. Like, this is not fair. This happened to me.
I have feelings.
Yeah, like that. So it's Patton Oswalt has like a great bit about it, like about talking about the Star Wars prequels. And he's like, oh, I saw Lucas in the street. George Lucas is like, we're gonna do the prequels. You're gonna see stuff before he was Darth Vader. And he goes, oh, what's it gonna be? Well, the first movie, he's gonna be a little boy and he's gonna be real sad. And he goes like, and then the second movie, you remember Boba Fett? You like Boba Fett? Oh yeah, I love Boba Fett. Yeah, you're gonna meet him. I was gonna be like, well, his dad's gonna die and he's gonna be real sad. And then like it's like the whole bit is about like that or whatever. So then we get that, and then we get the final scene of like, which is a complete mirror, right? Which George Lucas loves to do, which is the mirror of Luke stepping out onto that like sort of vista in Tatooine, seeing the 2 sons. You get the same thing with Beru and Owen holding the baby. We see the 2 sons. We get the credits.
Rise of Skywalker ends as well.
Yes, Rise of Skywalker ends that way as well. One of the movies that does it is very good. The others, not so good. That's the end of the movie. And I will say this: we reacted to Hayden Christensen a lot during this episode. I do want to say, I am excited to see him come back in the Obi-Wan show, and I'm excited to see him in the Ahsoka show. I'm excited to see him both those shows because I think with a good writer and a good director, he might get some vindication. You know,
years of practice.
Yes.
20 years of practice since then.
I mean, like we talked about this. It's not like he's a bad actor.
No, he's been in good stuff.
If
Yeah.
you give him the right material and somebody is just like, hey, go get it. Like,
Mhm.
the last 20 years of your life. And like, look, he's embraced it. Like he
Yes.
shows up to the Star,
Yeah.
like to the Star Wars cons and stuff.
Mhm.
Like,
I
you know,
love
he
him.
knows what his role is in all this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited to see
Yeah.
what he does
Yeah.
in these shows.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%.
I'm so excited.
So yeah, that's Revenge of the Sith. We did it, guys.
We did it.
Can I paint a picture of me leaving the theater?
Yes, I would love that.
Yes.
Okay. So for the last hour, crying, full tears. I'm shaken. I can't believe Anakin is Darth Vader. Completely shook. Every other 40-year-old man in the movie theater saw this coming. My dad included, me shook. I'm wiping my face as we walk out the theater, screaming at my own father. You knew and you didn't tell me. And I have trauma.
I mean, it makes sense. It
This
makes
is the type of
sense.
stuff you talk about in therapy.
Yeah.
My dad knew
Dad-
I'm
that
sure
who
it
Darth
come up.
Vader was, and he didn't tell me,
My
and he
dad
let me
knew.
come to that on my own.
Your therapist would be like,
And I had an argument with my mom yesterday. I was like,
Oh,
you know
yeah?
what I realized the other day? I'm like, that you guys knew who Darth Vader was, and none of you sent me to the theater with dad. And like, you saw me come home crying and didn't fucking come and console me. She's like, well, you should have known he was Darth Vader. She tells me this.
Your
like,
own mother,
20
see?
years later, I'm like, excuse me?
your own
I'm like,
mother.
I would have only known if you would have told me. Yeah, even my mom was
you tell
throwing
your
shade.
therapist, they would have said the same thing. They look up from their notes and be like, Kelsey,
You should have known.
you should have known. It's like the most famous thing in the
I didn't
world.
have internet. I didn't have internet.
Yeah.
They didn't have it in Canada. They didn't have the internet back
They didn't have
then.
the internet
It's
in
crazy
Canada.
times.
I was 9, 11. I didn't have internet. I only got internet when I
Pick
was
an
like,
age.
15.
Pick an age.
6, 9, and 11 were the years that these movies came out.
So yes, so that's good. Then do it for our Revenge of the Sith review. I think we need to come back again, not this many months later, and maybe do the next movie in chronological order, not release order. So I would say is that Solo? Is that the next one in chronological
Oh.
order?
Is it? Yeah, I think
No,
so.
it's
Yeah, it would be Solo.
Oh yeah, it's Solo.
Yeah, 'cause
Solo
Solo
and
takes
then
place before
Rogue
Rogue One. Because Rogue One leads
Yeah, you're right.
directly into New Hope.
Oh, if you want me to crap on something
think
different,
Solo's
come
pretty
back for
good.
Solo.
I liked Solo.
I
so
like
don't know.
Solo.
We'll see.
It might be the most unnecessary film in the
It's
universe.
very unnecessary, but there are a lot of fun. There's some fun stuff in it.
There's some fun stuff in there.
You know what? I mean, and we're about to take a leap up in the acting department once we go to this next set of movies, at least.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Kelsey is welcome to come back anytime she
Yes,
wants.
Kelsey, anytime
She
you
has
want to talk about
an
Star Wars
outstanding
with us,
invitation.
please come back.
I also love Han Solo. If you thought me loving Anakin was strong, get ready, baby.
Well, we
it
can
goes
all agree on
generation
Han
to generation from here on.
I think, yeah, all of
Yeah.
us agree on
Wait
Han
till
Solo.
Kylo
You're not getting
Ren.
an argument from us.
You're speaking our language.
Yeah,
when you're talking
wait,
about Han Solo.
I can't wait to get to Kylo Ren.
I also
I
love
literally
Kylo
can't
Ren,
wait.
so it's totally fine. The only one I don't love is
my
Anakin.
God, oh my god.
Kelsey and I
It's
were
a
sending
generational
shirtless
thing, Bobby.
pictures
You would
of,
understand.
of Kylo Ren back and forth to each other many years ago
I mean-
when The Force Awakens came out.
Grun wants you to come back for the
I
next Star
mean-
Wants episode, so saying in chat. wants you
When
back.
Adam Driver took his
I
shirt
will.
off for his scene, I felt something.
Yeah.
And
I
I was
felt
in my
something.
30s when I saw it. I was like, oh,
I was like,
Exactly.
I get it,
Put a
Ray.
shirt
I
back on.
understand.
It's just a generation thing.
Put,
Just a
put-
family thing.
Put the shirt back on, but actually just leave it off. And maybe take it off and put it back on. Take it off again.
we
just
will get
remembering
this.
all those different like drawn pictures I sent to Kelsey. I found on the internet of people drawing that scene of
Mhm.
him
I
staying
was
with the shirt
so
off because
happy.
he's literally the size of a brick wall. Like he's just thick.
I
He's just
love
so
it.
Yeah.
wide.
He's so thick.
We'll talk about this when we talk about those movies, but I just love that he just sounds like Adam Driver, but he's like a Sith Lord, you know, like he has that very like weird deep voice that Adam Driver has or whatever, which I love. I love the way I love Adam
I
Driver,
love it.
but like the first time you hear him talk in The
love
Force
him.
Awakens, you're like, this is not the voice I expected. acted like when he talks, you know.
Well, I can't wait to get to Force Awakens and talk about that movie because that's
Yeah.
when my fandom actually really got going.
The thing that I'm actually really excited about is when we get to Last Jedi, so I can like reevaluate for myself like how I feel about the Last Jedi, talking to other people.
Same. I think it's
Actually,
my
yeah.
favorite movie, but I'm interested to watch it again.
I had a not like
It's like I came out of that a hipster. I was like, I love this movie. Everybody hates it. Well, I love it.
I'm not like a hater of the Last Jedi, but I'm not like a big fan of it either. So, but I haven't really rewatched it since like the 2 times I watched it in the theater or whatever when it first came out. So I'm excited to go back to that as well. But yeah, I've only seen Solo I think once. So whenever we
I've
get
only
a
seen
chance
it once.
I've actually never seen Solo.
great, that's
So
perfect.
that's what
Then.
I'm down to like watch
Perfect.
it. Yeah.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun to do
Because
that.
Nice.
I was boycotting it. Yeah.
Why?
I didn't pick the actor I wanted to play Solo anyways. It
Oh,
doesn't matter.
who? No, I
was
want to
being
hear
a
this.
A good reason.
I want to hear this. Who did you want to play Solo?
No, I'll save it. I'll save
Okay,
it.
that's a good
I'll
idea.
save
Yeah,
it.
let's save it. Let's save it
Oh,
for.
great
I'll save the
teaser.
content,
Great
okay?
teaser.
Yeah, what are you against? What is his name? Anzel.
Yeah, no.
Not,
Yeah,
not
what's his
absolutely.
name?
Oh God!
No, it's not
I thought it was
Anzel
Aiden. I thought it was Aiden. Wasn't it Aiden something?
Aiden Ellenrick, I think.
Is that what it is?
All right, I'm just gonna.
Look it up.
I'm just gonna look. I'm looking
Look it
it up. Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich. Okay, or
Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich, whatever. That's his name.
Ehrenreich.
That's his name. That's a name of a person, apparently.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like that guy who was in Batman vs Superman, Scoot McNeary or whatever. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, get a
What
human being's
great
name.
That's a
Scoot
great
McNeary
name.
is actually a treasure.
I love that. I love that name.
It's a name for sure.
Uh,
All right. So I think that's gonna do it. If you all want to get in touch with me personally, I'm Bobby Shortle on Twitter. Justin,
Justin _says_hey.
Kelsey.
I forgot we do this.
You don't know your own handle? You have 2 of them.
KELSAMUS. And my YouTube channel is Reading with Kelsey.
Yeah, go check out Kelsey's YouTube channel. She's a booktuber. Yes. Kelsey, what was your favorite book of what month are we in right now? October. So I guess you haven't done your October like read video yet. What you've read yet. So what did you?
No, but my favorite book is Battle Royale.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Oh shit! I gotta read Battle
Really,
Royale
really
now.
liked it. Yeah, it's so good. And All's Well by Mona Awad.
Okay.
She's a Montreal writer, and I love her a lot.
All right. Some recommendations. Mark, where can people get in touch with you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Ursus Fidelis TV.
And sometimes you stream Valorant.
And sometimes I stream on
Valorant.
Twitch. Also, well, that's just Ursus Fidelis.
Yeah. Check that.
And
check
it's
that
always
out.
Valorant. I keep trying to do other things. I just can't.
Every time
I'm
Mark
incapable.
texts us and like, I'm thinking of streaming tonight. I might do something different. And then he goes live and it's like Valorant. Like, okay.
Consistency.
Consistency is very consistently inconsistent. So we're gonna go through this because it's more than just Justin and I. Our sign off. I'm going to
God.
say thank you, Justin. All right.
Thank you, Kelsey.
And then Justin's gonna say thank you to somebody else.
Justin, don't spoil it.
Wait, Justin's gonna say
Sorry.
thank you to somebody else. That person will say thank you to the last remaining person, who will most likely be me, and then I will sign off for everybody. All right. Let's see if we can do it. All right.
Okay.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's show. Until next time, thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Bobby.
And thank you to everybody who's been watching or listening. Until next time, be good to one another. Later.